Sat Kartar, Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh. Very good evening, India and Pakistan. I mean, countries and people living in South Asia. A very good morning to those just about waking up on the Pacific coast and everyone in between. Um, People have long celebrated now. The Women's Day, it's been time and it's all done and dusted. That means 2, 3 days later, people would have, men would have certainly forgotten about the idea of celebrating the idea of women. I think it is the idea of the mother. Uh, for me, whenever I talk of International Women's Day, it is for me the Mother's Day. Um, I'm a student of Guru Nanak, so um, uh, he connects me in that manner. Today is this is the 187th Baiṭhak of the ongoing YaarAnād virtual Baiṭhak series. It's the 26th episode of the second season. As you know, that I've been dedicating these series. I began the season one when I found myself in lockdown in Italy, in Rome, where I had worked very hard for 4 months, literally, and then of course many months before that, thinking about it, what to do and how to do. But then for 4 months I was in Italy curating an event with the Indian Embassy and the Museum of Civilizations to mark the 550th birth anniversary of Guru Nanak Dev, the founder of the GurSikh Marga, GurSikh Panth. I worked with one of the stunning women in the radio. I was introduced by my very dear friend Nello Delgato, Monica Donofrio. Monica Donofrio is a very, very senior within the system there, and I wanted to translate, Guru Nanak's 5 or 6 compositions that I had chosen to perform at the Museum of Civilizations, and I asked Monica Donofrio if she could connect me with a poet, and she connected me with Maria Grazia Calandrone, and we'll see her post it, and we'll briefly mention about that. So I did not choose whether it's a man or a woman. Monica Donofrio spoke of Maria Grazia, a woman. And it was amazing to work along with that. So when the lockdown happened, I was quiet. I was celebrating, as if it was new for me. I've always enjoyed being a loner. I work day in and day out. It's been 33, 4 years now. People usually don't get to know. We are the unsung contributors to contemporary life in each era. I mean, that is you know, let me see if there is. Ramanjit says volume is a bit low. Let me see if I can increase it. Let's see if it is okay, or maybe I can increase it a bit more. Um, the as conservators, people usually don't realize that quietly things are dying. It's like the species each day, hundreds and thousands and hundreds of thousands of species are dying, which are known to mankind. And just imagine those that we don't even know, we don't know about. We haven't even discovered the entire planet. So in conservation, especially to do with intangible heritage where nothing is visible, we are a very rare breed, and I'm one of a very few in the world in my era who have conceived as a prospect to look for that which is from the past, safe kept by the elders of every given civilization. Because if I'm attending that way to my civilization, which is the South Asiatic system of civilization, idea of civilization, and I hope that I have hoped that, and it has inspired people from other parts of the world to attend to their respective heritage in a similar manner, or in a manner that would inspire and even educate my attendance if I can better attend to that. Now, why am I mentioning about doing silently is that because of the COVID-19, I was tired of this idea. There was so much noise on the cyberspace that I just didn't want to, and empathize with so many of my friends and elders and juniors whom I have not been able to bring here because they're just too tired of the screen, too sort of alert. They've become allergic to so much that is happening, the tsunami of events, etc., that is coming. But what happened is that when I began the series on the 19th of April 2020, when I was in Rome, people got to see how I work. That was one thing. And even the last night, I've spent my entire night with 55, 56 women. You can see the poster that I created. It just came to me. The idea came to me late last night. I was about to go live without the poster at about 6:30 yesterday. Then I thought maybe 6:30 is early. Let me do it 8:30. Then it became okay. I'll go at 10:30. But then I thought, you know what? Well, let's do this. So I began sifting through the images. I may have missed some, for example, because I was missing space. And every, there are other people who have contributed by way of their presence within this. For example, my National Cadet Corps mate Sarabjit Bhasin was here briefly, of course, but she was part of the one of the celebrations, and not directly YaarAnād. Then there was Dr. Ranjan Kaur Khalsa Baker, who joined in even as a host. So that this poster is going to get updated. But then to add, as you can see, I had no more space. I had to move the date on the right side. I brought in Abida and Valentina Lo Surdo here. And then, of course, I'll continue to finish this poster with the other 2-3 women that I still need to do. There was just not enough time, and I hadn't slept until 1 o'clock today, and I had the alarm set at 4:30. And it's been, like that. But people got to see that it is not a new habit that you gain, that cultural conservation with the field of culture, cultural heritage requires dedicated attendance. If you look at the instruments that I've been able to recover, handcraft them for the first time, searching the last luthier, documentation starting in the later 80s, audio, and then getting onto the video and digital audio tapes, etc., etc. All of this cannot happen unless you work and is log 18, 20, 22 hours a day. So one good thing that people have seen is that people who knew me, who had worked with me, as when I was editing the film in 98 or 98, yeah, Professor B.S. Ratan, he just left on the third day, I think, from the studios, because I was there 24/7. I didn't come back home. I was there eating there, etc. And he says, I can't keep up. So work at a pace and at the intensity that happens. But this has been quite a journey. Last 1 year, almost 1 year. It'll be 1 year on the 19th of April when I began. Maybe we might do something particular. I might request some of the guests who came, and we'll see. It's a logistical nightmare, but we'll see what I would do. When the Women's Day was being celebrated, I had been writing over the course with Manglesh Dabral's work, and my, went quite viral, my talk at Jashn-e-Rekhta in December 2019, where I spoke about Guru Nanak's composition about Panjamiya, Pandimiya, Pandamangad Vyao. I'll read that in a short while. So my attendance, of course, has been, I've spoken year in and year out about the misfortune that we, the mankind, offer at the feet of the womankind. We forget. We are sort of too blinded by the Maya. And this is one very beautiful composition where I drew a doodle the other day. I don't know if I can. Well, yeah, maybe I can. This is the doodle. I don't know if you can see. It's all about women. So here Guru Amar Das says, "Jaisi Agni udar mein hai, taisi bahar maya." Agni Maya ikko jahi, karte khel rachaya. Like within the womb there is fire, exactly like that is a Maya outside of the womb, and that fire and the Maya are the same. But then the idea of Guru Nanak, who says that everyone, under Jera Seta Jutpuj, all forms of life, as I wrote one Om, when was it written? Well, today at about 10:55 a.m. Well, that's a proof that I was still up and running. And it goes something like Adi Ape, Sun Samadhi. Adi Api Sun Samadhi, Pita Ban, Brahmand Sajaya, Panj Tat Banaye, Mata Ban, Avatar Ban, Andaj Jeraj Setuj Utbuje. Andaj Jeraj says that the four khanis, the four forms of life. Andaj is one born out of the egg, the mammal life, like we are born out of water, those born out of humidity, and wherever there's humidity or moisture, there's life. And Utbuj is the one that sprouts. But water is Pita, is the Guru Nanak calls, or index systems called, especially Guru Nanak called Pavan Guru, Pani Pita. Pavan is air, is the Guru, is the master. Pani Pita, water is the father. Then Mata Dharta Mahat. And the Dharti is the Mata. And there was Radwe Dai Daya Khela Sagal Jagat. He says the midwife and mid husband are the day and night, which is the sun and the moon. And Khela Sagal Jagat, within the orchard of all these five, the entire world plays. And Sagal Jagat, he's not calling only about humankind, and he speaks over the four khanis. So it says, Adi Ape Sun Samadhi, Pita Ban Brahmand Sajya, Panj Tat Banaye, Mata Ban, Avatar Ban. So it is that Karta Purkh Parmeshwara, that energy which is the reason of all creation, is incarnate as both, as the one who does work, creation in terms of all the galaxies, etc. The entire creation. I've used the metaphor of the Pita, the father, and of life, the giver of life. When the same Karta creates life, is the incarnation of the mother. So Mata Ban, Avatar Ban, Andaj Jeraj Setaj Utbujhe, Ape mata, ape pita, ape sah nirvahe asaha. The one who needs no breath, but is a grantor of breath. Ape saha nirvahe asaha. Adi mad anti upaha. Eko hoa, eko samaha. This is what I wrote. Of course, you can see the teachings of Guru Nanak quite prominent, visible there. I don't know if the doodle I showed you, I did something with it as well. Let me see if I can open it. I created, I'm on Patreon, so you're welcome to subscribe, because I'm going to be doing concerts, the Punya Baiṭhaks and all that only for subscription, because it costs a lot of money to bring up. So I'm trying to build a little culture where I'm able to, and there's a plan, of course, to I don't have to go into that, but there's many plans. So I'm inviting you to join me on Patreon, subscribe on YouTube as well, and of course Facebook, social media, Instagram, and all that. I'm there with the name. Now this is, for example, the work that I did. If you saw what I was showing you, the doodle, this is a digital art I worked on with the colors, etc. So this is what I did, and I'm once I did this, I was told that it's also Mahashivratri, because Ashmita was here, my executive assistant, also Ramanjeet mentioned when I was sharing, with the close circle, because Ramanjeet is, we're all doing the work with creative arts and Anād Foundation and all that. So we end up, sharing, having telephone meetings every other day. They spoke of Mahashivratri, and when I told that this is Ardhanarishwar, the idea of one Karta, Ekko, Parmeshwara, who's incarnate, the mandal of Nirankar, and then which gives birth to the mandal of Omkar. People somehow mistake that they are as if the same. No, they're not the same if you go into the roots of it. And it talks of the two eyes of Mēlā Pehla, let's call it through the lens of Guru Nanak. If we see, there's some clarity, because there's a lot of sedimentation, a lot of appropriation which happened across time. And then where the lips are, usually we speak, but it's the womb that gives life, that speaks life. So below is the bind, the seed, the same the creation. So that's the metaphor, how it is used. And the eyebrows is Nanak ek bahara, eko sachas way. The only one beyond the woman's womb is the one creator. Rest, all is within that, within the woman. So this is, for example, one of the things I did also last night. I finished this doodle, and I have been doing some work like that. I've put it on Patreon as well, which those who are subscribing would be able to have a look at it in detail. Now, I want to just mention that when I spoke of, when I had been writing the poetry, there was some that Manglesh Dabral talks of within the women, etc. Then as I was doing then there was, I transcreated, let me read what I call poetic transcreations. I enjoy playing with the words. First in Punjabi, then I tried to translate. It's not translation, just another few words talking about poetic transcreations. It's a genre that I began many years back. In Punjabi it goes, मैं हाँ काव्य आलापिया, यानी हिंदी में होगा कि मैं कविता का आलापिया हूँ. मैं हाँ काव्य आलापिया, कवियां दी कविता सुनावदा, पर अपनी जुबानी, अपनी कहानी, अपनी मनमानी, जो आप ही पछानी, बहुत से आनी, निर्मल मनमानी, बेमानी, बामानी, मस्त मस्तानी. This is my Punjabi translation of, my definition of what is being a kav, what is kavalap. Then I wrote on the 3rd of March, we had to share about that, I think, with Maria Grazia Calandrone or someone in Italy and in England, in the United States, another poet. So I was sharing, and I thought, well, how do I tell that? So I just ended up writing in Angrezi as well. My Angrezi writing is very bad, but so is Punjabi. But it says, I smelt poems. I smelt poems, words, monophthongs, diphthongs, antiphthongs. I smelt each simile, every single phrase, metaphor, written, unwritten, intended, inadvertent. I smelt each poet. I have my nectar, and only then utter a poetic transcreation. So just to give you a forewarning of what I'll be doing, I'm not going to be reading the originals today for the sake of brevity, but just to give you an idea of how the idea was that when I was day in and day out, I always remember my mom. In fact, some of my friends wanted me to recite a poem that I wrote when my mom had died. I'd written a lengthy. It's a little too personal, subjective to do with mom's going. So I've chosen not to read it today. But I've been thinking. My sister is the oldest. She's my half mother. She's 16 years old, my senior. So I have my amma, my chachi, who actually adopted me when I was child, Surendrajit, chachi. So I call her amma as well. For many, many days and weeks, I was her adopted child. And then she had her own child. So I was considered like that, oh, you know what? You don't have a child, get the little fella and then you will have one. I thought, how do I celebrate Women's Day? And this idea came that in the last year, I have honored some of the, it's been my fortune, my privilege to honor literally, not by mere words, but actually by deed, and a very humbling experience, eye-watering experience. Sometimes I don't share, but it's amazing to see and celebrate, more than 55. 55 are there in the poster. If you add Niranjan Khalsa, 56, and there are others who participated in it. There are many others who work behind the scenes. If I had space, and I will do it, as I said, the poster will finish and they'll become more and more smaller just to create space. Or I might just make a poster which is bigger and I'll do that. But it's amazing. It's amazing that there is nothing which is less that they can achieve than men. It is a misnomer. And then Guru Nanak very rightly says, she is the mommy, right? The greatest of the kings and the some of the finest idiots. We've seen many who rule many countries in the world, and some of the finest men who are would be counted among the finest statesmen in the world and are counted in history. They're all born. They're an extension of women. So nothing is beyond them. And yet the taboo is, the stereotype is that somehow womankind is less capable. In the end, it's not muscle. Also is perishable. The imperishable, the one that is eternal, is the Ruh, and Ruh is genderless. And men do not, and even women at times do not remember or are mindful of the fact that we are actually genderless entities. This is just as Guru Amar Das says, Maya Agni sab ikko jehi karte khel rachaye. It's just the play of life. Just imagine the conceptualization that the one Kartapur Parmeshwara, who's Ajoni, the ideation of the idea of womb. What a fantastic idea. That's like a patent, right? And it doesn't expire in 25 years. Just imagine how life is, the idea of Brahman, the galaxies, the stars, the planets, the gravity, the expansion. It's just extraordinary. And it's a khel. That's the best we can say. It's a para. We cannot really put words to it. As Gurbāṇī says, Pita ka janam kya jane poot. How can a child know the birth of his or her parents or the father? They cannot. We were not there. So science may go on doing Big Bang or a small bang, or whatever they may think of. It is an assumption, interpretation. They may even think how it happened. They may even find in future, thousands of years in future, ahead into the future, if the idiots who control the bombs don't burn this planet many times over. They are burning. The species are dying. That's a different, but there's a subtle, the intangible burn. Destruction is happening. If humanity lives on, they may find even the first moment when the existence came into being, but they will never be able to interpret or assume the intent that created. That is already solved by philosophy, by logic, and by realization, by the experience, the experiencing of it. Science has to do with the tangible, the tangible self, the sthul sharira, the suksham sharir. That science is very advanced, has been very advanced. Science is only catching up. So, those are some of the thoughts. Anyway, I think I'm going on and on and on. But the 55 women that I have had the chance and the opportunity to interview, let me share their posters one by one. I want to do this exercise, right? I've spent time preparing the poster. It took time. I had to go out, search for photos at times, because I was now singling out many, like Har Sakhiyan, of images of Zainab, Salima, and Ismat. They took time. I literally had to look through all my hard drives because the image is so pixelated or low quality, low resolution, that to get the face out in this poster was an enterprise, and I didn't want to mess up. I didn't want to compromise in quality, etc. And then I've delayed 30 minutes because I was in the process of preparing a PDF. Now let's do that exercise. Let's do the exercise of running through on the 17th of April, the first woman that I called was Juliana Sosha. And she is an amazing pianist. She's a jazz pianist. And that was after I had spoken with Luigi Polsini, whom I featured in my first conversation on the 19th of April. And Juliana, I said, "Hey, Juliana, what are you doing on Monday?" She says, "Well, I'm in lockdown. There's nowhere to go." And then I said, "Oh, you know what? Let's do something. Let me, let's get together on the night." She said, "Sure." And that was the first conversation. She does work. She's an Indo Jazz group as well. It was just absolutely fantastic. Just know that these are 55 of the most beautiful women I know. Okay, let me put it in simple words. And men need to catch up plenty. Then I called after I put down the phone. Then I called Juicy Caruso. "Hey, Juicy, what are you doing on Tuesday?" She says, "Well, I'm in lockdown." I said, "This is what I've started. I'm about to start a series. Would you mind?" She says, "But I don't have my piano. I'm in lockdown. I can't access. I can't go to the university." I said, "Well, what do we do?" She says, "Well, I have my electronic piano, format, just to keep my fingers up and running." I said, "Well, why don't we do something with that only?" And she is such a darling. She was so kind, and we went, And then, what happened here? I think, why is this? Oh, here it is. Okay. Then I called my very, very dear friend Sara Micheletto in Alessandria, north of Italy. And I said, "Well, why don't you join in?" And I was quite a Baiṭhak. And in fact, in that Baiṭhak, I tried multiple cameras. So my series has, been a path breaker. It's inspired many, many conversations, the whole series of conversations around the world. I'm very glad about that. I'm grateful that I could, inspire that. In India, but especially in Europe and all that, the people could, realize that they could just be unplugged and chat without all this garbs of formality, being politically correct. And you see, we've not, the series is many hours. I've done it is 187th, and many of these protagonists I have conversed with have been done twice over, some even 3 times. So it's over, 800-900 hours of conversations in the last, but then imagine the tens of hours of time that is required to even curate one Baiṭhak. Nearly 12-13 hours took only the generation of the poster, and I do it myself. This one I've done again. Many of them I do. Most of them I do. Sometimes when I'm not, I'm working in sane times. Like there is a creative arts team. Shivangi and others have been very kind. Thanks to Raman and so many others. Gurlev and Kamleshwar, Batwa, many people. But because I mostly do this graphics work at night, everybody's sleeping, so I end up doing it myself. Nevertheless, this is Sara Mikleto. She is an amazing. She headed the La Fenice. I mean, she was the first soloist of the La Fenice Teatro of Venice. And it was an amazing Baiṭhak, and I tried 3 cameras, as I was mentioning, with her, which was quite interesting. Then, of course, I had on the 2nd of May with Padma Shri awardee Aruna Sairam. She's one of the finest, Carnatic Sangeet vocalists, and she joined, very early AM from Seattle, where she was also under lockdown. But as I teased her at the time that she was lucky because she was with her daughter, and I was stranded all alone. We were like 4 people in 4 different cities. And then, of course, the one and only, and she's being, I've heard a word is spoken, in fact, word is spoken. Poonam Ayub told me that she's being honored on the 23rd by the President of Pakistan. So congratulations, Abida, Praveenji, for your extraordinary contribution, and any award is well deserved. I hope the Indian government, Narendra Modi government, also honors her with Padma Bhushan or Padma Vibhushan. In fact, she deserves that. It's important for the idea of peace, where you celebrate the musicians, the poets, like a Bharat Ratna for Faiz Ahmed Faiz. These are small things. This must be done. So compliments again to you, Abida Praveen, for a wonderful achievement, and my gratitude, of course, on behalf of all of us, to you for your extraordinary contribution, and may, with the wish that it continues to flow from your heart for many years to come. We wish you the best of health and the best of friends and fans. Then after the 3rd of May conversation that I had, which is just wonderful with Abida, then I turned to Rome with Maria Grazia Calandrone, who, as I mentioned, this was a photo I took on the streets of Rome, and then it was amazing. She was busy with the photo that I chose in the poster. Is when she's at a poetry festival. There were many poets who were teaching students from across Rome and some of the adjacent regions. The students whom they were from the poetry class had written, they were sharing the poetry. And I was very fortunate to be able to join that and see the quality of poetry that the young students were doing that. Someday I'll share the images that I took. But this is Maria Grazia. She came out and I took some shots as one of them. And on this day, we also read, Guru Nanak's translations. It was amazing what she did. Well, Parvati, most of you do. Maybe all of you do. I requested Parvati. She was so very kind, as always, to take time out on the 9th of May, which is a Saturday, and she joined from the Sanatan Siddhashram, which she's founded. It was an amazing, as you can see, this was my first attempt at doing something different with the poster. Anyway, then, of course, I went to Mumbai with Dr. Jaspinder Narula. My heartfelt condolences to her as well. She lost her dad, who was an extraordinary, just an amazing musician and producer and composer who passed away. Mr. Narula, worked with so many greats. He created so many compositions, working, for decades. A generation of masters, even from Punjabi folk like Asa Singh Mastana, Surinder Kaur, and just go on the list of some of the finest playback singers and ragis and bhajan singers and all this. Is just a long one. So she joined from Mumbai. It was a wonderful Baiṭhak as well. And then I went to Lahore on the 17th of May, which was Sunday, with her Sakhiyan, Bina Jawad. I've known the family for a long time. And then, of course, Ismat Jawad. On the left, you see Bina Jawad, the mommy, the dear doting mommy, the second from left, and then the eldest of the the gang, Zainab, Khwaja, and then of course the one and only notorious Salima, Khwaja on the extreme right. It was we always laugh and we always the chit chat goes on, but they sang some of the the harvest, the gifts that they have collated over decades, and that was quite beautiful. Oh, what happened here? That is so funny. Let me see. Here you are. That's amazing. What is happening? Anyway, we'll just keep it on. So this is, of course, ignore this man in the center, my very dear friend Michele Carreca. Wait, this is not about you, Michele. It's about your Malkin, your wife, your employer, Carolina Pace on the right. She is just fantastic, a recorder player. And piccolo, wow, and just flies. The instrument just flies in her hands. And I was, so glad to have formed the Anād ensemble. My foundations is an international ensemble, and they were the first, the group that we formed with when I performed on the radio, Raitre, for a very important series that they run. It was quite a day. And then, of course, on the 23rd of May, Zeb Bungash, I went to Durham, North Carolina. I think she's now I know that she's now done with shifting to the DC area. And what a Baiṭhak with this Pathanan Kudi. I mean, it was just wonderful. I mean, look at that. One. If you thought this was beauty, then there is another one. And what do you say about Gunita Palla's work? She's a top scientist, inspired by the stories, in fact, touched by the stories that her grandma would tell. She started the 1947 Partition archive. And I've been associated from the early days. I've had the chance to contribute some in terms of ideas and people that they documented. And it's just moving. And she's like my biradari in the sense that people who, like, I'm an ex-aviator. I renounced a promising career as a flying pilot in the military here in the Air Force when I was just age 20 without even earning the first paycheck. That takes courage. And she left a very, very promising, or taken a sabbatical off for some time, and not knowing when she returns back. The kind of stories she has put together is just wonderful. Then I went to Chennai with Vidushi Gopika Verma on the 7th of June. She's a Mohiniyattam dancer, quite a phenomenon. I call Prerna Shrimali Vidushi. Prerna is one of the finest Kathak exponents on the planet. She had just traveled from Delhi to Jaipur, and she took time out, and I requested if she could do the makeup. So with the dance in the series that we've done, I requested the dancers, to show how they do the makeup. What is the act of becoming? What is the process of when an artist transforms into the act? Same as with theater. And they were very kind. Prerna, Gopika, and others, they were all very, very kind. And people were shocked that they all said that this is amazing, that this is actually something which can be. So YaarAnād series has achieved plenty. It has set new standards, and so I'm glad about that. But normally people run away with ideas. This time it was all public, so people were able to celebrate some of these thoughts. And after Prerna's conversation on the 8th of June, 2020, I turned to my very dear friend Vidushi Saraswati Rajagopalan. She joined from Noida, and she retired from the All India Radio. She's a top grid artist as well. I mean, these are all some of the finest. And then, of course, the one and only Geeta Chandran. Imagine, she had been, she was down with COVID just like a week, 8 days before, and she was in the thick of it. And I asked her, shall we delay from the June 19th? He says, no, I'm absolutely fine. We'll talk. And talk she did. And we had a wonderful, wonderful session. I have to do a follow-up session with her as well. Well, every season we will do that, but this is just an amazing one. This is Neela Ram Gopal. Vidushi, Neela is one of the just extraordinary vidwans, knowledgeable ones of the Carnatic Sangeet. I mean, look at the photo. You can see, it's just kindness incarnate. Just absolutely fantastic. My colleague from the Sangeeta Academy's, General Counsel and Executive Board, Dr. Suma Sudhindra from Karnataka, Bengaluru, and is very close to one of the founder trustees of the Anād Foundation, Chiranjeev Singh, IAS, who heads the Alliance Française also in Bengaluru. So Suma is an inventor. She's created, although I disagree with her many times because of the innovations, electronics and shapes and size cutting, but she is a scholar and a formidable one. Always a joy to be in conversation with her. Well, we lost Ustad Iqbal Ahmed Khan, but he's left behind for us a beautiful gift. His daughter, Wusat Iqbal Khan. Wusat is, let me get Leah inside. She's making a lot of noise. Wusat is, yes, you keep quiet, Leah. Okay? Don't make too much noise. You see that. I have to do the doorman's job as well. Okay, thank you very much. Be quiet. And then Wusat, I requested her because she had done this Guru Nanak ki Kahani, Bebe Nanki ki Zubani, as the first series dedicated to Guru Nanak, Guru Nanak's 550th birth anniversary. I thought it was very, very, sort of pertinent in a way. It was important, in fact, that we heard her perform, and it was wonderful to have Ustad Iqbal Ahmed Khan, in this, he sang as part of that conversation as well. Sadly, we've lost Ustad Iqbal Ahmed Khan, and in fact, Sardul Sikandar also, we've lost another one of the grand elders and masters, contemporaries, with whom I had the honor of being in conversation with. Then, of course, I turned to my classmate from one of my musical relations, Professor Kaveri Kar. She is an expert of the Dagurvani Dhrupad, taught at Shantiniketan, etc. And then she's an amazing, amazing singer. There were some technical issues with the Baiṭhak, and I'm to revisit the Baiṭhak again. I have to continue the conversation with her. She had joined live from Kolkata. Then, of course, I went to Kolkata second time as a follow-up. And, of course, in this Vansh Prabhat, alias Rocky and Taranjit Kaur, who joined from Mumbai, and it was on the 3rd of July, Friday, and we did something very interesting again. Leah, you're not co-hosting with me. Can you? I mean, I have to tell you, I'm celebrating Women's Day, but I have to tell you to, S up. Okay? Okay. I'm kidding, guys. But I don't mind. I hope you don't mind. I don't know how it sounds, the microphone, the voice should be okay. It's live. It's organic live. That's how we are. We're all sort of joining in from our homes. No studios, my foundation studio is far away. Anyway, I was saying that Ramanji agreed to a wild idea of mine, and then I was just moved the way she then conspired with Rocky and then Taranjit. We did actually theater live. We curated. I mean, I was hosting, of course, managing, handling the switching from scene to scene, which I was told was also very unique in what YaarAnād achieved, where Raman and Vansh were doing the act together, Kolkata and Chandigarh, and I'm managing that from Delhi. And Taran did her bit from, she read a beautiful thing that she wrote from the bed box, in a way, if I may call it. So it was 4 people in 4 different cities curating that. It was quite a Baiṭhak in that sense, and a conversation. Then I went to Bangalore after that to Dr. T.S. Satyavati, talking about the Carnatic Sangeet, especially about, of course, my journey has always been to look at Muthuswami Dikshitar, Shyama Shastri, and Santyagaraja's works, but then also explore to other composers from down south who are not as widely known in the rest of the country, like Purandar Das and so many others. and important names, even those who were the teachers of the Trinity. That was very, very important. Then, I mean, it was just a beautiful Baiṭhak again with Vidushi Neela Bhagwat, who joined from Mumbai. What a formidable expert at the Gwalior School, an actress. And I, got away with my teases, got away with murder. She is ever so kind. She's again benevolence, on wheels. And then, of course, she's, one of the, I'm yet to also converse with Leela Venkatraman, with, Tapati ji, and many, many women who have written, on music, on arts, on dance. But I've always enjoyed my conversations with Manjari Sinha, and she's a musicologist and a critic. And my goodness, she remembers tabla from her younger days, and what a fantastic journey she has had. As I always used to say when I was trying to recruit some of the writers to write on Gurbāṇī Saṅgīta as early as when I was 20, 21, I used to say even to the likes of B.S. Ratan and others that a revival of a parampara cannot happen by mere protagonists, by mere performers. You need to have responsible attendees who are responding to the performance by holding a very, very courageous, merciless, and a very, very, a pen, a calligraphy tool that they are able to record what is happening. They're able to question that which is happening. And the reason that in Gurbāṇī Saṅgīta and the so-called Gurmat Saṅgīta field, it's like what happens sometimes in politics. Everybody becomes a pliable doll. Nobody has a courage in the name of, it's okay, everybody's nice, they're good people. Well, there's no good people. Anybody who plays with the histories of the grand elders like the Gurus and the Bhagats and the Sufi peers, they are not nice people. They may be nice within their family, etc., but that's all right. Good luck to them. But when anybody messes with the history of a parampara, well, you need responsible writers. And Manjari Sinha has, what a knowledgeable attendee to knowledge. And that's an important Baiṭhak to see for all those who want to pursue a journalistic career and respond to arts. That's a Baiṭhak of how you sort of, train yourself, how much goes into harvesting that perspective with which you then responsibly wield a pen. And I look forward to my continuing conversation with her as well. I'm hoping that she will grant me a few more hours. Manjari Chaturvedi is an amazing Kathak dancer. Of course, she's had a tough share because of the Sufi Kathak genre that she tried to, sort of propagate. But she is a woman of courage. She's one lady who is undeterred. You bring a tsunami and she knows how to surf on it. And I think that alone, that whole, and of course, look at the aesthetics, her idea of, the way she brings in costumes, the way she builds a story, the way she attends to a story, and how eclectic she is, the kind of inclusivity her performances have shown is a lesson, is a marker in itself. It was always a joy. It has always been a joy. It was a joy to work with her. My very dear friend Vidushi Meeta Pandit, who's the daughter of one of the darling exponents, one of the grand elders of Indian classical music today, Pandit L.K. Pandit's younger daughter. It was a brief conversation, and I'm looking forward, of course, to continue my conversation with her. We looked at some of the repertoire which grandpa and great-grandpa have so kindly, safeguarded, safe-kept. And Meeta had joined from Delhi, from her Delhi residence. Poet Sukhwinder Amrit has an amazing story. And talking of the International Women's Day, many of the women that you see have had encouragement. They were like Ravanjit, for example, like Juliana Sosha, GurSikh Gurus. They're born in, like Meeta Pandit, people born in, is like a silver spoon of arts and crafts and music, etc. But Sukhvendra Amrit's story was amazing. It was dose of denial. Her father and name it, or early days, her in-laws, they would just be tearing off her, tearing and throwing, trashing her poems that were written. And what a story, and how well received her story was. Amazing, what an amazing poet. Then, of course, I always laugh. She's a Thet Punjaban Kudi, Vidushi Ranjana Gohar, a Punjabi Kudi who learned Odissi dance. She's one of the finest Odissi dancers and interpreters of that genre, who's contributed a lot, even by way of her thought process and research. I conversed with her on 21st of August. And then, as part of my work on the Shringar, what is it to to prepare for a performance, Vinod, Kevin, Bachchan, and her two students, and Archisa Arya joined from two different locations in India, and we were four people looking at how a man and a woman, and same was with Gopika Verma. Two of her students had joined, a male student and a female student, and we looked at the Shringara, how they prepare the Lokik Sringara before, as they prepare for their performance. And then, of course, I went to Pathankot area. Vidushi Sunanda Sharma was the, a student of, I'd say, a daughter of Girija Devi. Vidushi Girija Devi is one of the finest Indian classical and light classical exponents of the 20th century, and of course the 21st as well. But she's one of the finest of all times. And Sunanda was chosen by Girijaji, taken to Banaras, stolen from Punjab, taken to Banaras, and then taught. And taught. She has been, what you see in the Baiṭhak is one, but when we talk, at times we share some of the jewels which sometimes do not even see. There's so much knowledge. Some things don't even get sung publicly, just because there's so much to do. She's one of the most knowledgeable assets that Girija Deviji has honed for all of us, and for the world of music and arts. I have very, very, very many high hopes also from Sunanda. Then, of course, I turned to one of the veterans from the field of music, dance, and drama. What a thinker, conceiver, director, Dr. Neelam Man Singh. Our families have known each other for a long time. I will always remember her dear dad, Dr. Man Singh Nirankari, who, our elders have been very thick, but she, it was quite a moving. And in fact, there's so much to speak with her still. We showed many of some of the videos from her performances. It was quite a Baiṭhak and quite a conversation. She's an educator, so you see that avatar of, apart from being a theater director, producer, conceiver, but then you see also the pedagogue when we talk to her. It's always a joy. And then, of course, the feminine activist Kamala Bhasin. It was Ramanjeet who suggested that I must speak to her, and then there she was, and we had quite some time. I know Kamala hates me much, but well, I like her and I love her in spite of the fact that she hates me. That's all right. India is a democratic country. Well, almost. The last time I checked, wasn't really democratic, but nevertheless, it was. You have to read her poems, the kind of an activist she has been, and it's just an inspiration for, and a lesson for women to be, how they can. What is it to hold your own, and to stand tall, and not to be amused by stupidity that the world brings. Quite a journey she has had. Pandit Kumar Gandharva's dear daughter, Vidushi Kalapani Komkali, who stands very strongly on her own. She's carved a niche for herself, and she's always a joy again to talk to and speak with. She joined from Devas where her father had made an abode of learning, and it was a joy to to speak about her dad, of course, but then of course a journey of how she began as a little child. And it was a lesson that knowledge doesn't come just because of a child. You have to earn it. You have to earn it, and you have to yearn for it. And then hard work. Hard work is very, very important. There's no escape. There's no shortcut. Um, Vidushi Kala Ramnath is a darling of a soul. She joined all the way from Redwood, California, and it was quite a wonderful Baiṭhak, and I'm, quite a violinist, and what a family. She's had families contributed so many in the last few decades. Quite a joy again. And Ustad Nasir Fayazuddin's dear daughter, Kamar, she's a pictorial calligrapher. And, I was going down memory lanes when, she used to sit down with the wonderful Mastan Baba, from down south, from Kerala. I think he was from there. And then the kind of work she does was always a joy to watch and to note, but it was wonderful to speak with. Then I remained in fact, went from Surajkund. She joined from Surajkund, Haryana. Vidushi Ragini Chandrasekhar is one of the finest Bharatnatyam and Carnatic Sangeet exponents. Her mom has recently passed away, but, and of course, she was, I had the privilege to know her as well. This was the 142nd Baiṭhak that I did, and what a performance, what a conversation. It was a joy, really, to be with her. And, talking of talking of courage, talking of flamboyance, talking of, well, you know what, so what, and I mean, name it. I mean, that's Usha Uthup, right? You can't mess with her. she's a step ahead of you. She's a foot taller than you. If you think you're something, she's the star that you gaze at. She's just an amazing soul. Our conversation, of course, was it was a long one, but then I think a part two was to be done, which she's been busy. She's a busy soul, but I'm looking forward to conversing with her in the second season, of course. Vidushi Ileana Chittaristi is an Odissi and Mayurbhanj Chao exponent. She's from Italy. Talking of courage, talking of having an opinion, talking of learning. She's the daughter of a very important politician. But as the story telling goes, her father would represent the government, and she would be the one protesting on the streets against the government and against everyone's wishes. She fell in love with the dance forms and the music of India, and she has lived here since. And she's been honored by some of the highest civilian awards of the country. And I mean, she's an amazing, amazing storyteller, and what a contributor, what a dancer. My very, 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 very dear friends, Francesca Rondinella, Emilia Rondinella, of course, Emilia. They sing the Neapolitan song, and they have a group called Le Rondinella. She lives in Brussels, but she was visiting Francesca, and they both joined from Napoli. And what a conversation it was. All of these conversations, just to celebrate International Women's Day, I would suggest that you watch all of these Baiṭhaks whenever you have. There's so much that to learn from, and you see that the mother comes in so many incarnations. It is just eye-watering. And look at this. What a photo. I love this, and I use this for the poster. Dr. Stefania Passamonte, she's a concert pianist, radio broadcaster, and founder of LPMAM. She's in the process of raising a university in London. And what a thinker, I mean, what an organizer, what an administrator, apart from being a stunning protagonist as a pianist. She lives in London, that's where she joined me from. And for the 157th Baiṭhak, I went all the way to California, to Del Mar, and with Kamala Kapoor, who's written The Singing Guru and Into the Great Heart on the 20th of November. And some people who are a little too caught in the idea of dharma and religion and do not understand the idea of storytelling. Sometimes, I mean, she's not been given the due. And I read some of the excerpts from a book to make that point, that you need to honor these kind of writings, which imagine what life was when Guru Nanak took his steps, and so much more. It's always been a joy. She spends her summers in the mountains of India, in Himachal Pradesh, and then she is with a husband who's quite an artist himself. They live in California. Then I turned back to Lahore. I drove all the way there to be in conversation with Fariha Parvez, who's so busy now with her new venture. She's in the process of it's already up and running, the boutique she's doing in Lahore. And I think I'm going to pretend to be a woman and do, go there one day with all the burqa clad and all that, just to tease her. She joined, I mean, from, that was the 159th Baiṭhak. It was quite a Baiṭhak itself. And then, of course, the mezzo soprano, Maestro Tiziana Portoghese. What a voice and what a joy. And she's just an amazing mother. And very dear friend of Darshito, whom I conversed with, and it was just beautiful to have her, and also her husband Francesco. It was beautiful. Juliana Soltis was recommended by Jed Distler from the composer. He hosts several. He hosts a program himself, and it was a joy. She's an educator. Juliana teaches. She's a Baroque cellist, so it was wonderful to be in conversation and to listen to her and know about the idea of the Baroque cello. And then the composer Elvira Muratore, she joined the 16th of December for the Baiṭhak from Prato, Italia, and it was the second season. The second season, as you can see, the poster changed, and then we looked at how she composes and conceives, and then she writes music. It's quite a thing because of the idea that in our system, when we are creating music, it is one way. It is what is it? You create a composition, you write something, and then you play, and a tabla player or a pakhavach player, they play along whatever they can. But the kind of care with which the Western classical music, is written, notated down, multiple linears, 50, 60, 70 lines at times, 100-piece orchestra, 70-piece orchestra, from a solo to duet to, to a trio to a quartet, etc., to a quintet. It's amazing the kind of work and the planning it goes. In fact, I began writing for the Anād ensemble. That's for the first time the Indian raga system or compositions of Drupadas dating back to the 15th, 16th, 17th centuries were written in a way that were done the raga way. So that's a work which we presented, a preliminary work on the Radio Rai 3. But that's they were also surprised how I would, and I have no idea. I'm not employing any of the harmonies, for example, or chorus. That's not. I'm doing the Indian way, the Indian classical music way. That was quite something for everyone. So it's been a joy for me to look at the work of some of the composers of the Western classical music, and it was a joy to talk to Elvira. Then the stunning pianist Karine Pogosyan, she joined from New York, and she is a formidable competitor. Her fingers dance as if they were, flamenco dancers. 5 flamenco dancers on the keyboard. And that's amazing. From the grace to the pace to the power and to the humility to the subtle to the strength. Goodness me, she is it all. Then, of course, I was in conversation with a researcher, songwriter, and vocalist Wajiha Athar Naqvi, who joined on the 10th of January this year for the second season, and it was a wonderful conversation. She joined from Karachi, and then. It was fun to speak to her in Punjabi and listen to her in the people she has been inspired by, and she's done some very big numbers for Coke Studio Pakistan recently. Um, well, what do I say? She's just an amazing mommy. Um, I think if the an international award for the daughter, daughter of the century, daughter of the decade. I mean, among the greatest daughters, you ask Surinder Kaur, her mommy, the legendary Surinder Kaur. I mean, she's been an amazing daughter, an amazing mother, and a very kind wife. I know that. Colonel Saab, I hope you're listening. Dolly Guleria's, it's a conversation that I'm going to do because her mom's diaries, guys, are just like, wow. I mean, she was like opening the diary of her mom and then just breaking into a song. That's the kind of a memory she is. And all of that needs to be documented. And I'm going to continue the conversation. It's just going to be like a play. Open a page and you start singing. And I'm going to continue that with Dolly Guleria. What a joy it was to converse with her. Oh, where are you? Here you are. I think there's some size issues. Shabnam Vermani is, of course, Cornell study educated, but then she's from my college in Chandigarh. Shabnam Vermani, she's a filmmaker, singer, and writer. Her work on Kabir has been noted internationally, and she's known for her work. And I had 2 conversations with her this year, and she's always a joy to talk to. And it was amazing to see how, as she said, the overeducated urban folks, how they, when they have looked at some of the elders like Bhagat Kabir and Namdev and Ravidas and Mirabai and others, it's quite a joy how, even I am a Fauji kid, when I was introduced to Kabir Saab, Bhagat Namdev, Bhagat Ravidas, Guru Nanak and Baba Sheikh Farid. We were all like that, college educated and modern education people, but who were introduced to the Indic legacy of learning, and we all responded in our own ways. And you have to look at her work as well. Just amazing work. Taranjit Kaur, as I mentioned earlier, who had featured in Ramanjit's Baiṭhak along with Rocky. It was finally my privilege to be in a session with her as well. She's a poet, actor, and activist. She's started this PAD squad, looking directly at the menstrual health of women, raising awareness, and it's eye-watering the kind of courage all of these women have. The way they've attended. Look at Ramanjit, her sister. She dared to have an all-women, sort of theatre group in Kolkata. The kind of these are revolutionary folks, all of them, in their own way. The kind of pioneering their path ahead, and so on and so forth. And of course, last but not the least, Aba Valentina Lo Surdo, who is a journalist, voice trainer, and actress. She joined on March 2nd, and she was also introduced along with Monica Donofrio by Nello. And she's been quite a friend. She introduced me to, because I was in the process of setting up the Anād ensemble and setting something up in Europe to do a major event, which I'm in the process of, in any case, because of lockdown. I was in conversation. So she was one of the people I was connected with, and she then has introduced me to so many wonderful people, some of whom I also, you know, interviewed and had sessions with. She's quite an educator herself. And so my salutations to all the women who were so very kind in making the last year that has gone by into at least a personally to speak on a personal note, just complete. I think it would have been so, you know, it's just meaningful. It just made sense. It just was right, and so my gratitude also to all of them, and my best wishes, of course, to all of them. Let me now have, before I read some of the poems that I said that I will, let me look at the comments. Nirvair Khalsa, who's one of the other grand women that I have had the chance to work with and converse with. She is in fact, I did two lectures in a national seminar done by on education, hosted by Professor Amit Kautz and his wife, Professor Deepa Kautz at the Guru University, where I was dean for 2 years. And I am the forgotten, I'm co-founder of the Interfaith Studies along with the Vice Chancellor. I interviewed five women actually, 5 women and 1 man, Siddharth. There were other women. There were others. It was not that I was only biased towards women. Principal Prem Singh, artist, he was busy with the paint work as work. So anyway, and I had just like 24 hours that I worked. Nirvair's Baiṭhak was amazing. I'll be releasing them shortly. Gurpreet Kaur Sami, greetings to you. Oh, Professor Ravindra Vasavra. Well, our session is still to come, and he's been one of the board of advisors with the Anād Foundation, one of the top conservation architects. Namaskar to you. Ramanjeet says Women's Day celebrations are on whole of this month globally. Yes, of course. Well, we can. I think these celebrations, we should be mindful of this. It should be celebrated year in and year out. Manvinder Singh from Gurbāṇī University, thank you very much for joining. Juliana Sosha, I was just talking about you, backbiting about you. So glad that you could join in. Rima Teg, another strong woman, she-woman from Bangalore. And then poor Rishi. I mean, no wonder the name Rishi. You need to be Rishi to sort of have to deal with living on a mountain, or living in the lap of a mountain. And then, of course, Manjeet Kaur, cannot miss out a single word. It's also precious, reflecting the intensity of your work. Guru Pacha, keep blessing you video. Thank you very much. Arfa Naqvi says, speaking of mothers, listening to you from my mom's account. Love it. Oh, it's Vajiha. Hey, Vajiha. That's so tricky. I thought it was, anyway. Love to you too. It was lovely reminiscing our Baiṭhak. And of course, Ramanjeet says, wow, wonderful salute to your office, dedication and service to the arts. Bhai Baldeep Singh, thank you so much. And Vachia says, in fact, today I read the news about discovery of the ruins of the Bronze Age civilization in Spain, where women played an equal part in politics and society. Oh, look at that. Thank you for this beautiful commemoration. You're so thoughtful. Oh, of course I am. I am man after all. And yes, there must be awards beyond politics and border. Yes, I am glad that you agree to. Professor Basavra says, amazing energy, Bhai Baldeep Singh. What an effort and what contribution, a significant place in history, and what a tribute to outstanding women. Thank you so much, Professor Basavra. Your kind words and advice always have meant a lot. Jaswinder Bhamra, my big sister, half mother, another half mother of mine. It's lovely to see you joining from London. Tarinder is a poet and a student of mine. And she and Puneet, her husband, have 2 wonderful, wonderful, promising kids. and I'm really hoping that they will, become responsible custodians of knowledge in the near future. Ramanjit says, I got connected to the Baiṭhak during the Harsakhi and Baiṭhak. Thanks, dear Devinder Gilji, who introduced me to it. And what a journey it has been of learning about arts, artists, and their processes. Heartfelt thanks to the Anād Foundation. Thank you, Ramanjit, for your kind words. Sarinder, and then Manish stated, Namaskar, Bhaiji. Namaskar back to you, Manish ji. Sabra said, we are all so much enriched by Bhai Baldeep Singh ji's such heroic efforts. Thank you very much. I'm only flattered. I'll sue you for attempted flattery, sir. And Ramanjit, well, says completely agrees. So she's going to get an equal, notice. You both owe me a nice cup of coffee, or chai will also do. And then Charanjit Maan says, Sat Shri Akal, all of you. Happy Women's Day. Sat Shri Akal back to you. And then we have Gayatri Datte joining, and she's quite a writer herself. Satkartar, back to you. Anil Sunny, Jimmy. Adabars hai aapko bhi. Rusavra says, Bhai Baldeep Singh, you can't thank enough for your wonderful idea of this tribute to such wonderful women whom you introduced to us. Please let me share this moment and pay my sincere obeisance and respect to all these inspiring women who have enriched us through your such commendable effort. Oh, it's very moving. Thank you so much, Professor Savra. I second this wonderful note that you have, offered at their feet. Gayatri Datte says, thank you in regards to all the great ladies. Yes, and thank you, Bhaiji, and all the team for all the Baiṭhaks. Oh, that's so sweet. She is, Professor Savra has noted how thoughtful a bouquet for each magnificent woman. Manjari ji says, Mera pranam aapke athak shram aur samarpan ko. Thank you so much. Now, let me read. मैंने एक हिंदी में लिखी थी. It was actually because Ramanjit was doing a project for the International Women's Day, and I ended up writing something in Hindi. Manjari ji, आप देखिएगा जरा, मैं टूटी हिंदी में भी लिख लेता हूँ. सबसे पहले मैं माँ थी बनी, फिर बेटी और बेटा भी. मैं ही तो हूँ नानी नाना और दादी दादा. मैं ही हूँ दया ममता स्नेह दुनी बंधन. मैं ही बंठन बैठती चाची चाचा मौसी मौसा बुआ फूफा. मैं ही नटखट भतीजी भांजी और भाभी. या यूं कहो या यूं कह लो जिंदगी. हाँ, जिंदगी जगमगाती लिशकती धड़ धड़ धड़कती, हर रग में अग्नि सवार बसंती छड़ी लिए. जर्रे जर्रे को सींचती अंड पिंड सजाती सवारती. बहारें लाती कोयल बन कूकती. मोर बन ठन नाचती हिरनी बनी हरियावली. गोविंद गुरु का बाज सज आकाशों में पंख पसारती. सुमेरु सज भवसागर पारती. हाँ, मैं ही हूँ, पलकें खोल देखो मुझे. मन का घूंघट उठा, मैं ही हूँ उम्मीद आशा प्रार्थना जुनून मेहनत मुशक्कत भविष्य मति. मैं ही हूँ कली गुलाब की कमल अडोल शांत चमेली. पर मजबूर हूं गर कड़कती बिजली सूर्य किरण. चांद भी चकोर भी और प्रेम प्यार. ये is what I wrote. Of course, Ramanjit has very high standards. He decided not to use this for the project. Haha. Or this is the one I wrote on, there's a, let me see if I can turn to Guru Nanak for a moment. In that, I had written, where are you? Oh, here you are. I've got like so many poems, papers. So the Uh, let me see. The composition by Guru Nanak, in which for example, I was talking about, I read it, Jashan Rekha as well. There are two parts of it. Normally, people, everybody's like reading, as if Guru Nanak and other gurus and bhagats and the Sufi peers never spoke about women. Um, you know, the first sloka before the Pandijamiya, Pandimiya is not spoken, but that's where it all begins. What does Guru Nanak say? It's like scathing. It's like destroying the hypocrisy, the entire construct by mankind. Emphasis, huh? He says, "Pehla sucha aap hi hoye, sucha baitha aaye. Suche agge rakhiyon, koi na bhityo jaye. Sucha hoye kaje vya laga padan salok." He says that कहती जाए सटिया किसे लगा दोख अन्न देवता पानी देवता बसंतर देवता लूण पंजवा पाया किरत ता हुआ पाक पवित पापी स्यो तन गड्या थुका पैया तित जित मुख नाम ना उच्च रहे बिन नाम रस खाहे नानक एवं जानिया तित मुख थुका पाए. He says that the entire idea of how men in India have they would bathe, they would clean themselves, and they would be termed as pure, purified, therefore, and they would sit on a sanctified place at a very very in a sacred space next to the kitchen. Is all the analogy of eating food. So he says, "Pehla sucha aap hoye." First he cleans himself, becomes sucha, becomes pure and chaste, and then he sits in a place which is sanctified and pure. And then suche agge rakhiyon koi na bhityo jaye, and all that is served in front of him is prepared and brought to him, so that there is no chai, no shadow of even a shudra or anything that will be inauspicious on that food. Not even a shadow is placed it in front of him, who would then, after upon being chaste and purified, cleansed of any thing that whatever is thought about, he would now start reading a sloka around. My ancestors, they all did it. He would start reading a mantra around the food, and then sucha ho ke laga padn slok. Then he says, "Kuthi jaye satya kise laga do." But then the food that is processed is then thrown away. And thrown in a filth. I mean, in a sewer. That food, which is then processed through the body. He says, "Kise lagate?" Who gets the sin of dirtying, of transforming the food which was chaste but ended up as poop, as crap, as shit. He says, who's responsible for that? Anna Devata, Pani Devata, these are all Devatas. Anna, the food, cereals. Pani is the Devata. Water is a god. Besantar, Agni, that is the god. Loon, salt is the very important, the fourth ingredient, and Panjama Paya, Khit, and the ghee. All produced, in the purest and the most, sacred way. And then they say that after this is created, then ta hua pak pavit, only then the food is considered purified, is pavitra. Papi syo tana gadya thuka paya. But after the body is processed through the intestines and the stomach, you spit on the crap that you see on the ground in the old times, or even in the toilet, you see. Literally, these are important to see the hypocrisy. We're so enamored by the table, we forget it's the same food. We do that, and look at the pretense that we have at the intake, and the kind of the treatment we give to the same food after processing, even when we know the entire food, that's like a martyr, it's given the food value anyway. Jit mukh naam na uchre, he says, but that mukh which is taking in all of this, the one that doesn't remember the Karta Purkh Parmeshwara, and bin naam ras khahe, and without the naam, without the remembrance of the Karta Purkh Parmeshwara, eats all the, consummates all the rasas that there are. He says, Nanak eve janiya tit mukh thuka pahe. Nanak says, know them as that crap which was worthy of spitting because of its foul smell. That is how allergic Guru Nanak is. And people who are not mindful about remembering about how creation is are the ones who then are oppressors and tyrannical, and ones who assault or insult others, including women. And then he comes with the second sloka and says, Pandijamiya, Pandimiya, Pandmangan Vyaho, Pando Hove. That's the analogy he gives. He said, Pando Hove Dosti, Pando Chale Raho. And he's basically calling all the ill treatment of women as filthy, as crappy behavior. That is the reason for the preceding sloka is actually setting it up. It's a preamble to what he's then saying. That the entire criticism of womankind is shit, he says, is exactly that, and I spit on you, he says. That is what it means, right? And he says, Bhand. Bhand is a dialect for woman. He says, Bhand Jamiya, you're born to a woman. Pandani hai. Bhand Mangan Vyaho. Bhand is also for, look at it, Pandi Pauna is like a bad omen. So the one you consider, ill, you consider lowly, he's using that name. He's giving it, smacking it, just, is like when you want to teach a cat not to poop or a dog not to poop, you take the bloody, hold by the neck, and you, for once, you have to, rub their nose into the crap they've made. He's doing exactly this to the mankind. He's taking them by their judas or their whatever headgear and, and smashing their head into the crap they've done for centuries and thousands of years. He says, Bhanda, you're born to this one, you say, who's lowly. Bhanda Jammi hai. To this bad omen, you bow and worship. Bhand Mangat Vyao, you get that very woman to wed. Bhando those you call her the greatest friend. Pando chale raha, all your ways are through her. Pandamua, Pandapali, one woman dies, you seek another one. Pandu, all your relationships are through her. So, kyo manda akhiye jajja mein Rajan? He's saying it 5.25 centuries ago. Why is this important? Because the Raja, there was the monarchy era. Monarchies, that Raja was the Bhumipati. Even the Nepal king had Vishnu Avatar as one of the titles. They were considered incarnations of God. Let's not forget. So Raja is the tip of the entire system of the idea of life that there was. He says, how dare you call that one as lowly as filth, manda, as dirty, as forsaken, who is actually given birth to the kings? How dare you do that? Pandohi Pandupuja Pandit is now very interesting. Here he stops talking about men and but he's now he's making men here, but he's now talking about knowledge, pure knowledge. He says Pandohi Pandupuja, Pandai Baj na koi. Only a woman can give birth to woman, and there's none outside the woman. Nanak Pandai Bahara Eko Sacha. So only one entity beyond the woman, outside that of the womankind, is the creator itself. And then he says again, Jitmukh Sala Salahiya Pagarati Char. Now the first sloka he says, Jitmukh Namana Uchare, Bin Namaras Khai. Consummation. Ras is all the bhog. Even this idea of marrying a woman, that's also eating a rasa. Consummation of food, consummation of a human being, or a union with anything that there is, anything that is created. Even fragrance, that's also consummation. Gyan. It's an interrogative. He says, Jitmukh Nam, na uchare, bin rameras khai. But in the second sloka, he says, Jitmukh Salahiya. It's positive. He says, the mouth with which the rasna, which actually is ever in praise, Sada Salahiya, Bhagarati Char. And those are fortunate ones. He says, Nanak te mukh ujle. Those faces are ever radiant. Tit sache darbar, and they are the ones who are honored by the Creator, the Karta, Parmeshwara itself. And then he comes to the Paudi. He says, Sabko akhaya apna, just nahi sochno kadiya, kita apo apna, ape hi lekha sandiya, ja rehna nahi at jag, ta kayat gar bhandi. When you're not to live in this world, so what this pretense, what for this pretense, etc. Manda ke sena ki hai. Don't call anyone lowly or dirty or less. Pad akhar ehu bujiye says, by reading the word, if you're a man or a woman of letters, if you've ever read anything sensible or that is worthy of being read, he says, this is what you summarize, this is what you get from it. This is the essence that you get from all learning, that there is that manda ke senaki. Never call anyone ill or bad. As a murkhe nal na lujiye, just don't lock your horns with idiots and fools. This is Guru Nanak's thing. So I began, doing the poetic transcreation of the first one, which Sucha hoye kaje vyā, that one. Pehla Sucha hoye, aap hoye, Sucha baitha aaye. So here is my poetic transcreation of that one. I hope, and it's a lot of liberty that I take. I bring in several things. There are the exegetical attendance, of course, but of course seeing that which is written and that which is hidden is part of the pedagogy that I belong to, or I'm a produce of. It's the exegetical attendance of the Dharamsal and Girvadi and Sekma Taksals. One of the oldest surviving Indic systems, which I've had the fortune of reviving. And I'm celebrating the third season. I will begin soon, will be marking the 5th centenary of Dharamsal, which my ancestor, was very privileged to help, construct. At 1521, when it was begun, commissioned actually by Guru Nanak at Kartarpur. तू सुच्चा समझदा है अपने आप नू? This is how it begins. तू सुच्चा समझदा है अपने आप नू? मेरा सुच मेरा ही झूठ है तू. भुलक्कड़ जीव याद कर अपने भ्रम जल तराया है तैनू. भुलक्कड़ जीव याद कर अपने भ्रम जल तराया है तैनू. पंज तत हड मास तन तन रोम रोम नसां बुण बुण फुलकारिया है तैनू. रंग रलाया श्रृंगारिया है तैनू. अपनी निज अग्नि तपाया और पकाया है तैनू. अपने अंड तैनू ज्योति जगाया. अपने ही लहू सिंचाया है तैनू. जिस मुखों जीवामृत पिवाया तैनू. जिस मुखों जीवामृत पिवाया तैनू. किव अपशब्द बोल कुबोल लड़ाया. फिटकारिया तै मैनू. जिस मुखों जीवामृत पिवाया तैनू. किवं अपशब्द बोल कुबोल लड़ाया. फिटकारिया तै मैनू. ब्रह्म भोज भक्ष मल हैं मूड मुग्ध. कोथड़ी जाए परोसिया. तितड़ी थाए थू थुकाविया. सोच जरा विचार भोरा. पीड़ी थले सोटी फेरा. ना मुख चरे जे नाम हरि का. रस भोग भावे इंद्रादिका. अन आखें देव पानी पितृ देव. अग्नि लूण अर घ्रेव. पाका पवित्र देव. तन हागा अपवित्रेव. चित्त बिन से श्रवणन सुन से. रसनान रम से. धृग जीवा है भ्रमा है. माया है हरिना है. So this is my first transcription of the sloka, translation of the first sloka, and the transcription of the second sloka was, I think, yes, I think it's this one. It was called Zindagi Nama. मैं ही जिंदगी हाँ धी भी पर आप दी मां दी. बेटी भी अपने पिता दी. भैन भरावां दी. यार माही दी. सुहागणी सुहाग दी. ते फिर मां भी. मेरे प्रेम दा, हर जी माता हर जी पिता. हर जी यो प्रतिपालक. हर जी मेरी सार करे हम हर के बारक. So the incarnation that the Karta Parameswara is the mother and the father, and it's the woman telling. So here, the Nanak Sada Suhagini Jyoti Jyotra Samai. So Nanak also becomes a bride. So she's a Suhag, Suhagan. So you see the dristant of that, if you may. कि मैं ही जिंदगी हाँ, this is जिंदगी नामा. I titled this one is जिंदगी नामा. मैं ही जिंदगी हाँ धी भी पर आप दी माँ दी. Dhi in Punjabi is beti. धी धी ਵੀ ਪਰ ਆਪ ਦੀ ਮਾਂ ਦੀ, ਬੇਟੀ ਵੀ ਆਪਣੇ ਪਿਤਾ ਦੀ, ਭੈਣ ਭਰਾਵਾਂ ਦੀ. ਗੁਰੂ ਸੇਜ਼ ਤੂੰ ਮੇਰਾ ਬੰਧਵ, ਤੂੰ ਮੇਰਾ ਭਰਾਤਾ, ਤੂੰ ਮੇਰਾ. Guru Nanak is talking to the Purkh Parmeshwara. So, as I said, seeing through the lens of Guru Nanak, ਕਿ ਮੈਂ ਹੀ ਜ਼ਿੰਦਗੀ ਹਾਂ ਧੀ ਵੀ ਪਰ ਆਪ ਦੀ ਮਾਂ ਦੀ, ਬੇਟੀ ਵੀ ਆਪਣੇ ਪਿਤਾ ਦੀ, ਭੈਣ ਭਰਾਵਾਂ ਦੀ, ਯਾਰ ਮਾਹੀ ਦੀ, ਸੁਹਾਗਣ ਸੁਹਾਗ ਦੀ, ਤੇ ਫਿਰ ਮਾਂ ਵੀ ਮੇਰੇ ਪ੍ਰੇਮ ਦਾ, ਲਿਹਾਜ਼ ਦਾ, ਮੇਰੀ ਹਲੀਮੀ ਦਇਆ ਦਾ, ਮੇਰੇ ਗੁਨਾਹਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਖਿਮਾ ਕਰ ਦੇਣ ਦੇ ਬਲ ਦਾ ਨਾਜਾਇਜ਼ ਫਾਇਦਾ ਹੀ ਉਠਾਇਆ. ਭਾਵੇਂ ਜਦ ਮੈਂ ਪਾਰਵਤੀ ਸਾਂ ਜਾਂ ਸੀਤਾ, ਸਰਸਵਤੀ, ਦੁਰਗਾ ਤੇ ਚੰਡਿਕਾ, द्रौपदी, कैकेयी, होलिका स्वरूप नखा, मिरियम, फातिमा, राबिया, सुखनंदी, सुलखणी, सौंदर्या, सस्सी, हीर, झूम, गावदी, मीरा, धरती, हाँ भारत मां भी. हुण बस बहुत हो लिया. अपने मुंहों अपने बोलां अबोलां बहुबल. हे मर्द आ आ आ तैनू सियाण करवावां कि तू मैंडड़ा सुकर्म है, मेरा सुपुत्र राजन रंख भी है, मेरा करता रब आप, तू मेरा कीता कराया है. गुनाह कर कर तू परोसदा, खिमा अवतार मैं ही हाँ. पर हुण मेरी तकदीर मैंडड़े हथ, आसां मन पंग मैंडड़े रथ. आसां मन पंग मैंडड़े रथ. Man is a new word I've coined, I've blended to the flights of imagination, the aspirations. Oh, mere rath, they are in my chariot now. So she's the chariot rider too, that is. And then she says, the lines of my destiny are in my hands now. I carve them the way I desire. So this was my poetic transcreation, Kavalap of Guru Nanak's Pandijamiya, Pandimiya. I hope you would like it. Now I want to read some of the others that I have done in the last weeks and recent months. As I said, that it'll be much to look for Manglesh's work. I think he wrote on Aurat, a couple of others, but some from Maria Grazia Calandrone and a couple of others from me. I will read for you. This one is her work on Leke Sembra Sonyata. Talks of the mother as well, very, very poignant. And let me see if I can set this a little differently. Maybe like this, it's better. And here we go. Leke Sembra Sonyata. I'm not going to be, as I said, reading the originals now. I've read them earlier, but I'll just read 2-3 poems as I've written them. O jo supne vich hai amandi, O jo supne vich hai amdi, माँ मैं सदके जावां जी आया नू. निरंग ते ओंग दे विचला पाड़ भवसागर अथा तैर आवी है माँ. अपने करतार विच मुड़ समावनों पहला एक आखिरी मेला, शुभ मेला. सच अटल सच मिठड़ा बोला मेरी माँ दा, मुस्कामदियां फरमावदी मैं हुण मरण हां लगी. नहीं नहीं माँ, तुसां अमर हो ना मरो. माँ ਉਹ ਵੀ ਵੇਖਦੀ ਹੈ ਜੋ ਵਿਖਦਾ ਨਹੀਂ। ਹਰੀ ਭੇਦਾਂ ਤੋਂ ਹੈ ਹੁਣ ਵਾਕਫ। ਮਾਂ ਵੇਖ ਮੈਂ ਹਾਂ ਨਾ ਇੱਥੇ। ਮਾਂ ਵੇਖ ਮੈਂ ਹਾਂ ਨਾ ਇੱਥੇ। ਆ ਵੇਖ ਬਰਖਾ ਰੁੱਤ ਆਮਦੀ, ਅੰਗੂਰਾਂ ਦਾ ਆਵੇਗਾ ਵੇਲਾ, ਤੇਰੇ ਪਸੰਦੀਦੇ ਸਵਾਦਲੇ ਅੰਗੂਰ। ਮਾਂ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਤੇਰੀ ਹਰ ਬਾਤ ਹੈ ਯਾਦ। ਮਾਂ ਮੇਰੀ ਉਂਗਲ ਇੱਕ ਵਾਰ ਫਿਰ ਫੜਿਓ, ਮੈਂ ਉਹੀ ਹਾਂ। ਜੀਵਨਦਿਆਂ ਤੇਰੀਆਂ ਪੂਰਨ ਆਸਾਂ, ਪਰ ਪਹਿਲੋਂ ਵਾਂਗ ਹੀ ਅਭੇਦ ਅਸੀਂ। ਮਾਂ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕੁਝ ਥੱਕੇ ਜਾਪਦੇ ਹੋ, ਪਰਮ ਨੀਂਦ ਦਾ ਵੇਲਾ, ਭਲਾ ਹੁਣ ਆਰਾਮ ਫਰਮਾ ਲਵੋ। ਆਓ ਮਾਂ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਤੁਹਾਡੀ ਚਿਖਾ ਤੱਕ ਛੱਡ ਆਵਾਂ, ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਤੇ ਉਹ ਫੁਲਕਾਰੀ ਉਡਾਵਾਂ ਜੋ ਤੁਹਾਡੀ ਅੰਮਾ ਨੇ ਆਪਣੇ ਖੂਬਸੂਰਤ ਹੱਥਾਂ ਨਾਲ ਸੀ ਬਣਾਈ। ਆ ਮਾਂ ਤੇਰੀ ਚਿਖਾ ਬਾਲਾਂ, ਤਤ ਪੰਜ ਮੋੜ ਹੁਣ ਆਵਾਂ, ਬਚਨ ਅਬਚਨ, ਕਥ ਅਕਥ, ਸ਼ਬਦ ਨਿਸ਼ਬਦ, ਭ੍ਰਮ ਤਤ। ਬਸ ਇੱਕ ਸਾਹ ਦਾ ਹੀ ਵੇਲਾ ਹੈ ਨਾ ਮਾਂ, ਹੋਰ ਕੁਝ ਵੀ ਨਹੀਂ। ਮਾਂ ਕੀ ਮੈਂ ਤੇਰੀ ਕੁੱਖ ਵਿੱਚ ਇੱਕ ਵਾਰ ਫੇਰ ਸਮਾ ਸਕਦਾ? ਕੀ ਮੈਂ ਫਿਰ ਤੁਝ ਤੀਕਰ ਪੁੱਜ ਸਕਦਾ? This was Maria Grazia Calandrone's one. And there was another one she titled Deposto. Now Darji ਕਰਾਉਣਾ, to admit, now Darji। ਉਹ ਹਰ ਦਫਾ ਕਹਿੰਦਾ ਕਹਿਣੇ ਨੂੰ, ਮੈਨੂੰ ਤੇਰੇ ਨਾਲ ਇਸ਼ਕ ਹੈ। ਉਹ ਹਰ ਦਫਾ ਕਹਿੰਦਾ ਕਹਿਣੇ ਨੂੰ, ਮੈਨੂੰ ਤੇਰੇ ਨਾਲ ਇਸ਼ਕ ਹੈ। ਇਹ ਵੀ ਕਹਿੰਦਾ ਕਹਿਣ ਨੂੰ ਕਿ ਉਹ ਧੁਰੋਂ ਤੁਰ ਆਵਿਆ ਹੈ, ਹਰ ਜੀ ਉਸ ਬਣਾਇਆ ਹੈ। ਇਹ ਵੀ ਕਹਿੰਦਾ ਕਹਿਣ ਨੂੰ ਕਿ ਉਹ ਧੁਰੋਂ ਤੁਰ ਆਵਿਆ ਹੈ, ਹਰ ਜੀ ਉਸ ਬਣਾਵਿਆ ਹੈ, ਤੇਰੇ ਨਾਲ ਪਿਆਰ ਕਰਨੇ ਨੂੰ। ਉਸ ਨੂੰ ਇਹ ਵੀ ਕਹਿਣਾ ਕਿ ਭਾਵੇਂ ਉਸਦੇ ਮੂੰਹੋਂ ਮਿੱਠੜੇ ਬੋਲ ਨਿਕਸਣ ਜਾਂ ਫਿਰ ਕਰੜੇ ਤੇ ਕੌੜੇ ਬੋਲੇ, ਕਿ ਉਸ ਨੂੰ ਤਾਂ ਬਸ ਮੰਤਰ ਮੁਗਧ ਤੇਰੇ ਗੁਲਾਬੀ ਬੋਲ ਬੁੱਲ ਹੀ ਵਿਖਦੇ ਰਹੇ, ਕਿ ਉਸ ਨੂੰ ਤਾਂ ਬਸ ਮੰਤਰ ਮੁਗਧ ਤੇਰੇ ਗੁਲਾਬੀ ਬੋਲ ਬੁੱਲ ਹੀ ਵਿਖਦੇ ਰਹੇ। ਕਹਿੰਦਾ ਕਹਿਣ ਨੂੰ ਕਿ ਉਹ ਦਿਲ 'ਚ ਵਸੇਂਦੀ ਹੈ ਤੇ ਪ੍ਰੇਮਾ ਵੇਲ ਵਧੇਗੀ ਸਦਾ ਲਈ, ਹਰ ਵੇਰਾ ਕਹਿੰਦਾ ਮੁੜ ਮੁੜ ਇਹੀ ਕਹਿਣੇ ਨੂੰ। This was another one of Maria Grazia Calandrone's, in which mother and women figured. In fact, there was, when I read these and rough translations with, to Maria Grazia, she was surprised that I was able to feel that which was not even written. That when I was writing, the idea of the mother came when it was not written, but she says, actually, I wrote it in the book, which is dedicated to the mother, to women. So it was very moving an experience, and I thank her for her kind words. Her fantastic poetry. So it went, Jagmag hai zindagi, jagmag kivang zindagi, ਜਗਮਗ ਹੈ ਜ਼ਿੰਦਗੀ, ਜਗਮਗ ਕਿਵੰਗ ਜ਼ਿੰਦਗੀ, ਜਗਮਗਾਉਂਦੀ ਕਿਤੇ ਚੁੱਪ ਚੁਪੀਤੇ, ਜਿਵੰਗ ਸੁਪਨ ਡੁੱਬਿਆ ਮਸਤ ਬਦਨ, ਕਿਤੇ ਲਿਸ਼ਕਦੀ ਮੁਸਕਾਨ ਵਾਕਣ। ਜਗਮਗ ਹੈ ਜ਼ਿੰਦਗੀ, ਜਗਮਗ ਕਿਵੰਗ ਜ਼ਿੰਦਗੀ, ਜਗਮਗਾਉਂਦੀ ਕਿਤੇ ਚੁੱਪ ਚੁਪੀਤੇ, ਜਿਵੰਗ ਸੁਪਨ ਡੁੱਬਿਆ ਮਸਤ ਬਦਨ, ਕਿਤੇ ਲਿਸ਼ਕਦੀ ਮੁਸਕਾਨ ਵਾਕਣ। ਪਰ ਧਰਤੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੈ ਚਮਕਦੀ ਤੇ ਨਾ ਹੀ ਸੁਆਹ ਕਿਸੇ ਦੀ। ਵਾਕਈ ਮਾਂ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਸਿਆਣ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੈ ਕੋਈ, ਅਸੀਂ ਹਾਂ ਤਾਂ ਪਰ ਬਸ ਇੱਕ ਜਿਸਮ, ਤੇ ਸ਼ਾਇਦ ਬਾਅਦ ਵਿੱਚ ਕੁਝ ਵੀ ਨਹੀਂ, ਕਿਤੇ ਵੀ ਨਹੀਂ। ਵਾਕਈ ਮਾਂ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਸਿਆਣ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੈ ਕੋਈ, ਅਸੀਂ ਹਾਂ ਤਾਂ ਪਰ ਬਸ ਇੱਕ ਜਿਸਮ, ਤੇ ਸ਼ਾਇਦ ਬਾਅਦ ਵਿੱਚ ਕੁਝ ਵੀ ਨਹੀਂ, ਕਿਤੇ ਵੀ ਨਹੀਂ। ਤੇ ਆਹ ਅੱਖਰ ਡੱਕ ਡੱਕ ਸਰਜਿਆ ਹਿਮਾਲਿਆ, ਤੇ ਆਹ ਅੱਖਰ ਡੱਕ ਡੱਕ सजिया हिमाला तैंडड़ी मुस्कान दा कण तक भी ना। तेरा बदन जगमग सी, दिल धड़कंत नबज चलंत सी, ते मैं तैनू आवाक तक रहा सां ऐन उवें ही जिमें सांझ वेले रघु लाल गृहस्थ सुमेरु गोद है समावदा। राग सिरी मारवा पूरिया आलापदा, अंत काल बहु मुसक्कत भी कीती, पर तुझ तक पुजना संभव न होया। पर तूं तां मेरी धड़कन सी हुण, मेरा वर्तमान ते मेरा भविख, ते वेला सी आन खड़ोता तेरी डोली तोरण दा, तेरी विदाई दा। अलविदा मां, अलविदा हे मेरे जीवन गुरु, बिन ढाल बिन छल है आमदी, बिन ढाल बिन छल है तू आमदी, जिंदगानी जगमगाउंदी। लाचार भावें बेबस ही भावें, तेरी ममता मुझ वल झाती मारदी। जिंदगी मैं राह छड्डी, जिंदगी जो सबना दी सांझी, जिंदगी जेड़ी मुड़ मुड़ आमदी। सबन घट भीतर बिन आव्यां हरि जस गाव्यां, रह न सकंदी जिंदगी जिंदगी। I received news that one of our very dear friend, one of the top poets, Shudip Sen's friend and partner, Simi, had a mishap, and I wrote to him upon receiving the news. Shudip nu asaं ਭਾਵੇਂ ਝਿਜਕ ਕੇ ਹੀ ਸਹੀ, ਪਰ ਪੁੱਛ ਹੀ ਲਿਆ ਹੀਰ ਦਾ ਹਾਲ। ਉਸ ਕਿਹਾ ਕਿ ਸੱਸੀ ਦੇ ਬੋਲ ਮੁਬਾਰਕ ਹਨ, ਪਰ ਕਰਮਹੀਨ ਹਨ ਵੈਰਾਗਮਈ। ਉਸ ਕਿਹਾ ਕਿ ਬੈਂਡੜਾ ਰੋਗ ਤਾਂ ਦਿਲ ਦਾ, ਬਸ ਮਨ ਦਾ, ਸੱਸੀ ਦਾ ਰੋਗੜਾ ਵੱਡਾ, ਤਨ ਦਾ ਦਰਦ, ਦਰਦ ਦਾ ਦਰਦ। ਤਨ ਚੀਰ ਦੀ ਪੀੜਾ, ਆਸਾਂ ਨਿਰਾਸਾਂ ਹੋਇਆਂ ਦਾ ਕਹਿਰ। ਰਾਂਝੇ ਦੀ ਬਾਤ ਸੁਣ ਮੈਂ ਅਵਾਕ ਰਿਹਾ, ਚੁੱਪਚਾਪ ਸਿਹਾ। One poem by Maria Grazia Calandrone is called Risposta per Arturo. Arturo is her son, who is in his 20s now, early 20s, I think. In this, the idea of the mother who's teaching, mother as a teacher, is very, very interesting. So I share that. Arturo nu jawab. He was like reading a Greek grammar, grammar of Greek language. And so it's that where she plots it. Kal, ਭਾਵੇਂ ਮੇਰੇ ਬੇਟੇ ਨੇ ਯੂਨਾਨੀ ਵਿਆਕਰਣ ਦੀ ਕਿਤਾਬ ਅੱਕ ਕੇ ਮੇਜ਼ ਤੇ ਧਰ ਕੇ ਗੌਰ ਨਾਲ ਮੁਝ ਵੱਲ ਦੇਖਿਆ ਕਿ ਮੈਂਡੜੇ ਮਸਤਕ ਤੇ ਫਿਕਰ ਤਾਂ ਨਹੀਂ ਸੀ ਪੌਂਰਾ ਰਿਹਾ, ਜਾਂ ਨਾਰਾਜ਼ਗੀ ਤਾਂ ਨਹੀਂ ਸੀ ਝਲਕ ਰਹੀ ਕਿ ਮੈਂ ਉਸ ਦੇ ਮਨ ਵਿੱਚ ਭਖ ਰਹੀ ਬਗਾਵਤ ਤਾਂ ਨਹੀਂ ਸੀ ਬੁੱਝ ਲਈ। ਉਸ ਦਾ ਤਰਕ ਦੀ ਐਰਣ ਤੇ ਸ਼ੱਕ ਨਾਲ ਕੀਤਾ ਬਾਰੰਬਾਰ ਵਾਰ, ਵੇਖ ਤਾਂ ਨਹੀਂ ਸੀ ਲਿਆ, ਖੜਕਾ ਸੁਣ ਤਾਂ ਨਹੀਂ ਸੀ ਲਿਆ। ਹਿੰਮਤ ਕਰ, ਉਸਨੇ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਸਵਾਲ ਪੁੱਛ ਹੀ ਲਿਆ ਸੀ, ਇਸ ਦਾ ਕੀ ਅਰਥ ਹੈ। ਪਿਆਰੇ ਬੱਚਿਓ, ਖੂਬਸੂਰਤੀ ਤਾਂ ਨਿਸ਼ਕਾਮ ਅਤੇ ਨਿਸਵਾਰਥ ਸੁਕਰਮ ਤੇ ਵਰਤਾਰੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਹੀ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਹੈ। ਐਨ ਉਵੇਂ ਜਿਵੇਂ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਆਪਣੇ ਪਿਆਰ ਨਾਲ ਰੱਜ ਕੇ ਪਿਆਰ ਕਰਦੇ ਹੋ। ਉਹ ਸੁਭਾਗਾ ਵੇਲਾ ਜਦ ਇੱਕ ਖ਼ਵਾਬ ਆਪਣੀ ਸੇਜ ਤੋਂ ਖੜਾਉਂਦਾ ਹੈ, ਆਸ ਅੱਗੇ ਝੁਕਦਾ ਹੈ ਤੇ ਇੱਕ ਗੂੰਗੀ ਦੀਵਾਰ ਤੇ ਇੱਕ ਬੌਲਦ ਉੱਕਰਦਾ ਹੈ, ਫਿਰ ਸੁਹਾਗੜੇ ਰੰਗ ਭਰਦਾ ਹੈ, ਆਪ ਦੀ ਗੁਫਾ ਸ਼ਿੰਗਾਰਦਾ ਹੈ, ਸਦਾ ਲਈ ਲਾਸਕਿਊ ਸਵਾਰ ਦਿੰਦਾ ਹੈ। ਅਚਨਚੇਤ ਸਹਿਜ ਸੁਭਾਏ ਅਣਚਾਹਿਆਂ ਆਪਣਾ ਹਮਸਫਰ ਲੱਭ ਲੈਂਦਾ ਹੈ, ਤੇ ਸੰਜੀਵਨੀ ਬੂਟੀ ਦਾ ਰਸ ਚੱਖ ਲੈਂਦਾ ਹੈ, ਅਮਰ ਹੋ ਜਾਂਦਾ ਹੈ. In which she talks about the caves from times ago, tens of thousands of years ago, found in Lascaux in France, where the Neanderthal man had drawn a bull on the wall. And when I say that now, that man who didn't make a portrait of his, but we know that he drew it with the tools that he could muster. And they were discovered, and it's amazing how he has managed to survive and live on forever. The last one I will read today is again a response to a poetic response or translation of a poem written persona by Maria Grazia Calandroni. It goes like this. Ghar vasya ranja jogada bhrandi bhram kanda da guthla chan mukhda sumeru badan sath mala sej mala dhakaviyan dasmaya handaya pata laga hai ढहकावियाँ टसवायाँ हंडायाँ सूझाई यार परदेसी तां भला मैं इत्थे तेरियां यादां च वसंदी तू मैंडड़े ख्वाबां विच रहंदा मैं याद करां सिमरावन जोगा अरूप अनंग ज्ञान रस भोगा जोहरी पेख कंचन व्यापार बालापन भूर भूर घटी भंडार मेरी अम्मा दा यार सा भव सागर अथाहा अम्मा मिल भव खिड़दा मुस्कांदा छलक छलक छल खेडियां पावंदा भवखंडी गोद मैं नज़ारे माणदा लहरां ते नचेंदी किरणां दी लिशक भव यार बरसावे भूर मैंडे मस्तक मेरे याद नाही ओह प्यार जो फिटदा ओह प्यार नहीं द्रोह क्रोध करेंदा हुण परवाह नहीं कि किन्नी वेरां जिउंदे जी घुट घुट के मरियां किन्नी वेरां लावारिस होयां सुके ही धरवास करा आबाद रहा मर्द अगंबड़ा है ओह सुख दुख सख लावण तदों सख लथियां ही भौरा वडहंसा सक लथियां ही भौरा वडहंसा धरती कंपे इंद्र बरखे बिजरी चमके कड़के धड़के धरती कंपे इंद्र बरखे बिजरी चमके कड़के धड़के उमड़ घुमड़ घनघोर घटा अनिक तरंग आवड़ जावड़ भव पार परे उर्धार हरे मेरी अम्मा दी अखियां दी लिशक मेरी अम्मा दी अखियां दी लिशक ओ चमक दमक मेरा आदि अंत ओ चिणग सी अखी अम्मा दी ओ चिणग सी अखी अम्मा दी जो धार बनी मेरे खंडे दी ओ चिणग सी अखी अम्मा दी जो धार बनी मेरे खंडे दी लहू धारा मेरे जिस मंगा दी अखी तकोगे तां खौरे जापेगा अखी तकोगे तां खौरे जापेगा हीर कदी रांझा कदी तड़प तड़प वर पावंदे रिद बुझोगे तां सियाणोगे भ्रमी भ्रमी धुर पुजिया हाँ वर पाव्या अंत जी वालिया हाँ. So that sort of brings me to the close of the poems that I had chosen to read. There are very many more, but I wouldn't want to bore you all with more. But thank you so much for joining at such a short notice. And let me see if I can look at some of the comments that there are, since I Narendra Singh, welcome back. And Poonam Ayub writes a fabulous feminist piece of poetry from someone who has never claimed to be one. That's very kind of you, Poonam. Manjari Sinha writes, वाह वाह हिंदी कविता की हर पंक्ति में आपकी आत्मीयता और संवेदनशीलता झलक छलक छलक रही है, जीते रहिए. थैंक यू मच. आपको पसंद आई मेरी टूटी फूटी हिंदी, तो मैं बड़ा खुश हूँ. Ashutosh Upadhyay, the son of the legendary Pandit Pannalal Upadhyay, he says, Pranam uncle, well, Pranam back to you. Bahut bahut pyar. Manjeet Kaur says, and Guru Nanak Dev Sahib ji, that's wonderful. Or he says, superb, salute, da da da, heart stirring, very touching, thank you very much. And Ishwardeep Singh has found time to write a note and says, Wahji, thank you very much, Ishwardeep. And I will see you. I had a Baiṭhak on the 12th. In fact, I should share that with you. I haven't done very many posters to come yet. In fact, I've been busy otherwise. But just to mention that there is a change in the Baiṭhak that I was to have on March 12th. Where is it going now? Well, I don't have the poster ready that I can show you guys. But anyway, so the Baiṭhak, which is scheduled for tomorrow, is not happening with Ramanjeet because actually I was to fly to Amritsar tonight, and I ended up cancelling the ticket because there was too much going on with the hotels where I would stay. I had to give a keynote address on the 13th morning, which I will now do online from here, and it was just too much of an enterprise to go from here today and tomorrow. Then to of course would have planned to host the Baiṭhak from there and then be at Pathankot early on the 13th and then come back on the 14th. It was a bit much. So I've cancelled that, but as it was, as I was traveling, we decided to shift the date to early April. And I'll keep you guys posted. Thank you again for joining in, and please do follow me on Patreon. There is a entire tier of patrons that you can be from a simple subscription, monthly subscription of $5, which is roughly 300-400 rupees per month, to $1,008, which is of the yogi, the YaarAnād yogi category, where you become partners. There's an entire range within. And I'll be shifting the Punya Baiṭhaks into that and they'll be pre-produced. They will be. We'll have to hire. I already have people, who would produce the videos. They'll be post-produced, and the recordings will be shared. And then, as the subscriptions grow up, already we have, quite a few friends who've joined in very kindly. So I'm inviting you all to become Patreons, to join Patreon as my patrons, and YaarAnād as patrons. And you can choose from different categories. I'll be placing, it'll be like my art gallery. It will be like my, museum, sort of window it's like a virtual museum. Eventually, I'm slowly putting things which are very exclusive. They're like one of the paintings that I showed the artwork from my doodle to the digital art. I'm placing only there and not sharing anywhere. So a lot of video footage in the future, as I'm digitizing, will be placed there. Audio recordings, etc., will be made available for on Patreon. So that's a way, because everything that I bring costs a lot of money, and it's several $1,000s worth of money every year on software subscriptions, etc., etc. This live streaming that I'm doing costs money. I don't have any support. So if you guys have done it, if you guys partner, we can do wonders with it as well. People don't want me to stop. They've told me that it has meant a lot to them that we should continue these, and I'll be reducing the Baiṭhaks. YaarAnād Baiṭhaks as they are will remain public on Facebook and YouTube. But then there'll be some exclusive works, and I'll be reducing down to 2 Baiṭhaks, or 2 days in which I might do 4 Baiṭhaks, or some important Baiṭhak that comes on, I will host. But I'm inviting you all to join me on Patreon as you look for, when you go on Patreon, look for my name, Bhai Baldeep, or YaarAnād. If you type in, you will go and choose among your tiers. It will be wonderful to see you. join up and help in our conservation efforts. There's a lot that we need to do, both in the consolidation of the entire, thousands of hours of audio-visual library that I have, the information, the data that I've gathered has to be digitized in annual. It has to be safe kept in multiple hardware, cyberspace, and so on and so forth. So all of that, and I'm creating a platform in which if I have to exit, life is, is this much only. So that the work of conservation that Anād Foundation has done continues, and it's a platform that I'm building. So I'm inviting you all, inspire others to join in, and as much as you can. And believe you me, we have dealt a massive blow to our civilization by not caring for the Vidwans, for the memory bearers, for the most responsible attendees of our cultural heritage. And we've forgotten them. They have died in anonymity, most of them. We are just somehow, stargazers, anybody becomes popular, whether they have nothing. A Vidwan and a Vidyavar and a Namvar are seldom together in one spot. At times, somebody gains a name, they become Namvar, does not mean that they are Vidyavars. They are not Vidyadhars. It's a symbol. They are not knowledgeable people. Many stupid people are world famous. A single thing can go on likes. Just because my pages have, 37,000 followers doesn't mean that I'm less than a bloody Donald Trump, who was 6 million. Who's he? In the world of knowledge, for example, just to give you a gross, and it's not an untoward, it's a literal thing. I head a civilization. I am a responsible custodian of a knowledge stream which is thousands of years old, 5.25 centuries old, directly from Guru Nanak. But then Bhai Sadharan, when he came, he was he had a very ruthless bloodstream, of Brahmin and Kshatriyas. He was a weapon-wielding scholar, calligrapher, musician, so on and so forth. He fell in love with Baba Nanak. So we understand the idea of systems, how knowledge systems work, and so on and so forth. And knowledge has to be safe kept. Ask the Abdalis, amateur Abdalis, ask the British, who knew that legend called Bhai Baldeep Singh, my great-great-great-great-grandfather in the 19th century. Before there's all these Gadar Lahers, and he was the guy who was given the name Baba. His name was Baba Baldeep Singh. He was called Bhai Baldeep Singh, and Baba Sham Singh wrote about him. Bhai Baldeep Singh ji, Guru ke veer, Hanuman veer sam, punah parupkari ar Guru sevamo ati nipun. This is how a 113-year-old Baba Sham Singh, born in 1801, writes in 1914. So this is the kind of, and that's my grandmother would say, that never forget the value of the journey this knowledge has taken to reach you. That's my grandmother, Bibi Sant Kaur, born 1900. So these are some extraordinary women that I have been prepared. I remember Bibi Jaswant Kaur, the only she teacher, and the way she she was taught by we are like also classmates, because she's a student of my granduncle, Ustad Bhai Arjan Singh Tarangar, my most important mentor. But then Bhai Arjan Singh Tarangar taught me when he was 90 and until 95, and built my spine up, exegesis and everything, Bakhawaj Parants and so on and so forth. But then he was teaching when Bibi Jaswant Kaur was about the same, in her teens, in her tens and teens. His father was the deputy superintendent of jails in Lahore, where Bhagat Singh, Rajguru and Sukhdev, the cop who took care of them, was Bibi Jaswant Kaur's father, who got himself transferred a week before the martyrdom, because he knew that he would go wild and it will not be good for anyone. He would have done something. So he got himself transferred. So and Bibi Jaswant Kaur's telling everyone that if at all there has to be a disciple, it has to be like Baldeep, because he understands exactly what so look at that. She was an aesthetician. She exactly knew what she was, if she's teaching me, dekh bhool 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 bhoole, dekh bhool 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 bhoole, aham tyag tyage, aham tyag tyage. And she's teaching me कि aham कैसे कहना है, कैसे कहते थे बुजुर्ग लोग, और त्यागना क्या होता है, अहंकार. And Bibi Jaswant Kaur. So I salute that grandmommy, who is also one of my mentors, one of my main teachers. Few compositions, but it's not just the compositions. It's the entire zamana that comes along with them. It's an orchard, big field. Maybe there are 5 trees, 10 trees, 50 trees. It's a huge land, and it's an entire ecosystem. And that's what Bibi. And look at this. देख फूल 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 फूले, देख फूल 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 फूले, अहम त्याग त्यागे, बाहर, अहम त्याग त्यागे, हाँ चरण कमल, हाँ चरण कमल, हाँ चरण कमल पागे, देख फूल 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 फूले, देख फूल 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 फूले, देख फूल 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 फूले, अहं त्याग त्यागे, अहं त्याग त्यागे, हाँ चरण कमल, हाँ चरण कमल, हाँ. It goes on like that. So she is I'm remembering her as well, my Bibi, my grandma, as I said, Bibi Sant Kaur, who said that, oh, your ancestor, he had a bloodied khanda in one hand. Asked the British, the Viceroy, whatever, these guys, East India Company, known as Bhai Baldeep Singh, and hundreds of thousands of acres of land, and teacher to all the Sikh kings and blah blah, the silent man, oldest Bhai-Kes. He said the grand warrior's most important possession is the saddle, and he had to jettison even his saddle. He did not shake hands, bloodied feet, no shoes, bloodied khanda, the dhal in the left hand. But she says, and she's a daughter of the great Jathedar Jagat Singh of Sarihali, the great Nihang leader. He says, but he said, living in the jungles, singing from sunset to sunrise in a single sitting, Panch Padharti Asadivar, inspiring people to not to accept the annexation, illegal annexation by the British. So we are the uncolonized. These are the histories where the British would never, at that time, they would never want people to know who were the actual Sangrami, who were the actual grand warriors, those are unwritten histories. Thankfully, some things have survived. He says, but everything lost. He chose to leave everything, not to shake, but he says, on the back, slung to his back was the Saranda of Guru Amar Das, and slung to him were the pothis, the books of knowledge. That is the journey this knowledge has taken. You remember Ghalu Gharas when the Abdalis and others came in the 18th century. This knowledge has lived through them, lived through those persecution years when your ancestors had price on their heads, noted. And that is the storytelling by my grandma, Bibi Sant Kaur, who was a second story after my great-grandmother, Bibi Athar Kaur, who, after my great-grandfather died, wrote all the people who served the lands. She wrote after the death as a shagan to all those who had served, gave the land. This is 1905. Imagine, that was the kind of women who had thought that a woman, that strong woman like that, Bibi Athar Kaur, would give the land to those who were tilling the lands, who were doing the farming, caring for the lands. She blessed them with the lands that they were serving, that they were caring for. And she just kept a small chunk of land for herself. In fact, a lot of the land which she granted away had to be bought back by my legendary great-granduncle Baba Jwala Singh, whose portrait is there, 1935, Dera Sahib, Lahore. He's an extraordinary man and a freedom fighter. Asked Mountbatten. His hand shook and he refused. When Gandhi died, it's Baba Jwala Singh who sang at what is now Rajghat for 8 days and 9 days in Bangla Sahib. So these are extraordinary. His wife himself, the second wife, Bibi Ranjot Kaur, Baba Jwala Singh's, because The first wife had also passed away in 1905 when my great-grandfather, who served on his horseback, if there's a Muslim within his domain of lands who died, he would make sure the person he would conduct, that taking care of children. If a Hindu died, make sure the chekha burns, etc. Eventually, he contracted as well. Anyway, this is just some histories, but stories that have come to me through the most important women in my life. And I love my little girls, my nieces, and I am a doting mama or a chacha, or a taya, and so on and so forth. So I have had my share of friends and elders, and I salute to all of you who have meant so much, who've given me so much, from a drop to an ocean. And may you be blessed, may you celebrate life, may you learn from life, and keep your eyes open, minds open, ears open. And as Baba Nanak says, Jab lag duniya rahiye Nanak kich kahiye kich suniye. As long as you are in the world, say some and listen some. And vidya vicharita parupkari. If you contemplate knowledge, read everything. Do not bar a scripture. Read. If you are a Chaturvedi, Trivedi, Dvivedi, Ekvedi, well, do not be allergic to the Quran or the Bible. Read them all. If you are a Bhai Baldeep Singh, read them all. Contemplate on them. Question the ideas. And how can there be duality? That the Karta is the same, is the creator of all ideas. Debate, even if you believe differently. But there should be comedy, there should be pyar, sneh. That is the key. And because we are, there is one mother we share actually. The mother of all mothers is the Dharti Ma, this planet Earth. We are all born from its womb. We are part of her four khanis. That's what we share. And there's no reason for any animosity. There's no reason for politics. Statesmanship is totally different. It's to grant, it's not to grab. These dacoits who take from the state, who take from the people, who steal from everyone. That's why I'm at loggerheads with people who are actually the taker breed, the snatcher breed. I am the giver, the donor breed. So maybe it's in my blood, as Baba Shyam Singh noted, Punha Parupkari, our Guru Seva mo Ati Nipun. Well, 5 years, I've also been busy in contributing without a paycheck. And I will continue to do so as much as I can, with all your blessings, friendship, prayers, and I thank you all. Poonam, we also need, and I and Poonam need to be in a session as well. In fact, when I was making the poster, I thought, well, Poonam's photo needs to be here as well. There's so many of you. She says, did you say more us? We would definitely love more of these lovely poems from you. Dil Maage More. Hi. Dil Maage More with the M capital. Gurkirat says, truly bliss. Bhai Saabji, thank you so much, Gurkirat. And Hardik Lakhanpal says, Bhai, please tell us the importance of classical ragas, because nowadays everyone is making Bollywoodification of Gurbāṇī. Ishwardeep says, thank you, Bhai, for sharing the stories of the wise elders, women in your wife. Thank you so much, Ishwardeep. Well, I am not going to talk much about classical ragas. What is there? I mean, there's nothing. In fact, one of my cousins says, famously is now, I mean, he's on record. He's my chacha, just a few years older to me, but old families. We have sometimes my uncles and aunties are my children, my nephew ages, and so on and so forth. But I disagree with that, and it's healthy to have a debate within that. So instead of giving an example from outside the family, let me give an example from within the family. That I would say that the Bollywood tunes are dirty, or they are not worthy of Gurbāṇī being glad to them. I disagree on that. No dhun. It's like water. Water is never dirty. You take water and leave the substance that pollutes it or makes it nice. YaarAnād is like that. After all, you don't have to take anything from anywhere. It's a dhun. You place good intent on it. It's there. The point is, I don't have a problem with somebody taking any tune from anywhere. in Gurbāṇī also, tunes were taken from, which were general lok, dhuns, etc. Ragas were taken, which were from the classical structures. Some ragas are created by the gurus, or they're the oldest, like Rag Jajavanti. Nobody else has been on record except Guru Tegh Bahadur. Before there's no mention of Rag Jajavanti. Rag Gaudi Purvi Deepki is a Sankiran Roop Raga blended by Guru Nanak only. There's only one composition. Rag Bilawal Gaund is the only Raga combination of Bhagat Namdev. There's only one composition. Aaj Name Bithal Dekhya Murak Ko Samjhaau Re, and so on and so forth, and Guru Granth Sahib. So they took the Raga systems and so on and so forth, but they honored, it all. So if anybody is inspired from a tune, buy a tune anywhere, go ahead, sing it. But then learn the Rag system. And once you become a learned fellow, your creativity will know no bounds. If you are literate, if you are a literature within the field of tradition, if you've understood, I mean, if you look at what was Tansen's structure of singing, how did he sing Malkauns, for example, or Sorat, or Bhairon, etc. How did Nayak Beju, Nayak Bakshu, some of these greats, Miya Tansen, for example, Swami Haridas, what was their structure? What were they singing? Guru Nanak, the Bhagats, Bhagat Kabir and Bhagat Ravidas, and what was the music of Varanasi? I know the music of Varanasi from 6.5 centuries ago. Bhagat Ramanand, nearly 7 centuries ago. I have a composition of Bhagat Ramanand. So Bhagat Baba Sheikh Farid, 9 centuries ago. I have two of his original music like that. So that's there within the when you are like when you study in a university, you go to a library, isn't it? So in the intangible pedagogical processes or indigenous pedagogical, we also must visit libraries. And like I'm a library too. I'm a Zinda Kitab. So if you want to know about Kabir Sahibs and etc., many elders, the ones that I know, my library will have many marvels. Likewise, you must visit other libraries. And these libraries which live in the memory, they cannot be turned out just like that. So because there's so much more than just the melody. There's a contemplation. Maybe in the future there'll be AI in the artificial intelligence age. Maybe things will, maybe I will outlive, for example, I'll be able to talk to and record in a way that will exhaust all your questions in the future. And by the time you've become a Vidwan, you wouldn't need to ask me in an AI format anything more, because you would have found the way you would be at the destination itself. So we need to understand the idea. When I've met, as an 18-year-old, I went after the memory. I said, any civilization lives in the memory of its people. If you want to destroy civilization, create a wedge between the memory bearers and the unassuming youngsters who have no idea. I mean, they have no idea. What is it to behold? What is it to be a custodian of? Behold knowledge, behold memory, narratives. So, like that. Anyway, I hope that people understand that it is important to become a Vidwan. You must learn the raga. Not just go for the not just go for window shopping, bouquet collection, like one flower from here, one flower from there. Bouquet, howsoever beautiful, howsoever varied, is not an orchard. To maintain a bouquet of flowers is totally different. You have a flower vase and then put water, etc. It dies. Flowers in the orchards also die. But then you have the shrubs. You have the, as it says, sage mala, sat mala. Mala is a thorn. Mala is also a thorny bush. So in one of the poems that I wrote, that is a sage mala, sage is my bed of thorns. But sat, my entire playground, is also a thorny bush. So I use that in that. So the mali of an orchard is totally different. The dynamics in an orchard, in a natural forest, which is just bounteous, a worshipper of life, as Kabir Sahib in a beautiful composition sings, Gyani Gyan Singh Al-Mast, who also taught Bibi Jaswant Kaur, and so it was one of the compositions that she taught me. in Kafi. But of course, the old one is in Asa, which we also, let me sing both of you. The very famous one is Wajid Ali Khan Sahab's, Wajid Ali Shah's Tumri in Bhairavi, in Kafi. On that, Gyani Gyan Singh Almast adapted. It's an old, Tumri Dhun of Kafi. Badi badi dorai malani, malani, badi dorai malani. पादी तोरे माली पादी पादी जियो जिसबान को पादी तोरे सोपान निर्जियो भूली मालनी है एयो सतगुरु जागा है देयो पाती पाती तोरे मालनी मालनी पाती तोरे मालनी पादी तोरे मालनी पादी पादी जियो जिसबान को पादी तोरे सोपान निर्जियो भूली मालनी है एयो सतगुरु जागा है देव पाती पाती दोराय मालनी मालनी पाती दोराय मालनी मालनी. The old one goes, भूली मालनी है एयो सतगुरु जागता है देव. भूली मालनी है एयो सतगुर जागता है देव. पाती तोरे माली पाती पाती जियो जिसबान को पाती तोरे सोपान निर्जियो भूली मालनी है एओ सतगुर जागता है देव. Then he says in this, Kabir Sahib, Brahma pati bisan dari phool sankar deo. He is critiquing the Malini who is plucking flowers from the forest, from the orchard, and he questions her. He says, "Hey, you forgetful gardener, that the Satguru, the actual Lord of the universe, lives, is a living being, is a living entity. भूली मालनी सतगुरु जागता है देव पाती तोरे मालनी पाती पाती जियो." He says, you're plucking, you're murdering leaves and flowers. Each leaf and each flower lives, and you're plucking it for the worship of a stone. That is odd, he says. Oh, you forgetful, woman. Oh, you gardener. It doesn't work like that. Then he says, Brahma pati bisanadari, phool sankar dev. Brahma is the patti, is the leaves. Vishnu is the dari, is the branches, is the twigs. And phool sankar dev, phool, the flowers, is Shiva, is Shankara. Teen dev pratakh tore, these three gods are in front of you. Kare kiski sev? Whose worship are you indulging in? Here they are. Celebrated worship life that is. So this is how the kind of, I hope that we learn from these elders. So they are talking of climate change, talking of ecology. If you just learn to Kabirs and Guru Nanaks and, that is, we'll be in order. The world will be, as I have always argued as an ecology fellow, but my ecology is, I'm a grammarian. So I have always argued that the ecology without is the projection of the ecology within. That's Brahm Tattva, is Brahma Jnana. Flow it down. Shoot it down if you can. The projection without is the projection. The ecology without is the projection of the ecology within. I mean, if you take a, rinse and spit out what I poured in was sucha. But now it is, in the COVID, now we understand the idea of viruses and bacteria in it. So what is inside you is what you will project out. But that is only the mouth. The vachan, if there's filth in your brain, whatever you say will be kubola, will be apshabd. will be, your utterance will bhadkaofy people, will instigate and burn people. You will lead people, astray. You'll never be able to guide them anywhere particular, which is kind, as in the words of Bhagat Ravidas, Begampura sahar ko nao, dukh andol nahi ko thao. The name of the city I am from is Begampura, is the city of worrylessness, sorrowlessness. Dukh andol nahi ko thao. There's no space for dukh and andol to even thrive there. They don't exist there. But if you have only filth within and no learning, no contemplation, anything you say will not be nice. So we need to, I think, we need to look at the works of the grand masters, Bhagat Jayadev onwards, Baba Sheikh Farid onwards, Bhagat Ramanand and his league of students, Guru Nanak, the entire politics that he played, bringing the words of all of these masters together. And that is very, very important. Very, very important. And then taking the feminine voice. He said, I am a Suhagan. What a bigger smack in the face of those who were the male chauvinists. Nanak says, Nanak sachi rate vismadi visma bhay gun kaida. That I am vismayi now. And he says the nar is the mati, is the wisdom, to equate womanhood or the women with wisdom. You have to see what Guru Nanak talks of, how he thinks about women. And here we are, we talk of just nonsense. And then he says, Nanak sada suhagni, jin jyoti jyot samay. Nanak is the eternal bride. What do prophets and what do the Devis and Devtas, they say that I am the incarnation, or people at least put words in their mouth. We don't have a word from, original word or utterance. That's the unique about Guru Granth Sahib. That's why the keepers of other dharmas were always, even today, they're trying to destroy it. Because for the first time, look at the politics of Bible. How many manuscripts are there? And they are hiding the oldest of the Bibles. And you see how it evolved over the centuries. But here, Guru Nanak knew exactly what is done unto them. He saw all idols that there are in the world. He traveled, is the second most traveled or the most traveled person, according to one count if you include the Vatican visit, in human history. He saw idols, he saw temples, he saw mosques, he saw dead people's as tombs. What did he get for himself? He took my ancestor Bhai Sadharan. That's his last journey. But he took, swore him. Bhai Sadharan is the only confidant. Not even Guru Angad knew. It's only my ancestor whom he took along. And the body, what was done, the flowers were placed. All that was done was the work directed by Guru Nanak, but conducted, curated, and enacted by my ancestor, direct ancestor Bhai Sadharan, whose pagadi I humbly still sport. So I hope that that we grow up, and for him to say no to a Muslim, no to a temple in his name, no to any monument to mark. What a great lesson. And then to call himself a bride of the Karta. Not any son or daughter of God, or an uncle or auntie of God, or the incarnation of God. He says, I'm a child, but I'm a Sohagan. And that is the revolution that he did. bringing the words together, then you will know what Hazrat Sahib would have meant, what Christ would have said, what Judas would have said. Because as the old saying goes, old proverb says, 100 idiots will have 100 faiths, 100 wise men and women will have one faith, because they are sourcing the waters from the same reservoirs, from the same nectar, ocean of nectar. Then you honor the idea of motherhood, the idea which is curated by the Karta Purkh Parmeshwar, by the doer, who is genderless, who is nameless, who is formless, who is the Niram, who created the Ovang. Ovang is that, but that is the other. That is also that. But where is this, or which is? So, all game of the play of words, but somewhere down there, hidden. And Da Drishtant, Drishtant is a analogy of Da is the art of breaking that which is the knot, the tijori, the treasure, which is locked, that which you see, and that which is not meant to be seen with these eyes or understood by this brain. It is the work of the heart, and that which keeps it pumping life, life, and life. Blessings and my best wishes to all of you, and I hope to see you soon. We have Manjeet Singh Chatrak ji joining from Canada. Tan Tanjio, very, very true. Beautiful Nishab, thank you so much. Old is gold. Hardik Lakhanpal, wonderful. And Poonam Ayub says, Bhai Sahab, the head is reeling with so much precious knowledge and so forcefully evinced gratitude, and with head totally bowed. Oh, you're such a, you're only kind, such a darling. And folks, I take leave. The battery in the, the light has long gone, and I take leave. Khuda Hafiz, Varji ka Khalsa, Varji ki Fateh, Namaskar, very good night, Sat Kartar.